Have some fun tonight, go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready, green. What the copy? Right foot down. We got to go, player. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. What? Yeah. I'm done with it. Fix your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Look great. Ridiculous, man. Holy. You see that? Holy cow. Good job, man. Two times, baby. Yeah. Holy crap. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to, I reached for a hat and I realized I don't have a hat. Welcome to the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. My name is Eric Estep. I am your host, joined by Jarrett Lundberg, aka the Iceberg. We've got Daniel Baldwin, otherwise known as Danny B Talks, and Darian Gilliam, aka Black Flags Matter, will be joining us shortly. He is stuck in some terrible Tennessee traffic, but happy to have everyone here. Thank you all for tuning in. Boys, we're going to talk Atlanta in just a few moments, but first off, as we do every week here on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast, we've got to start with our hot takes. I'll kick things off. We're going to look at the playoff bubble in a moment, but my hot take goes back to one of my bold predictions at the very beginning of the year that I almost got off the train on, but I'm doubling down. AJ Allmendinger will make the 2023 NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. He's gone from 24th in the standings to 18th in just the past 5 races. He's now only 13 points out after a strategy-ridden top 5 finish at Atlanta. His average finish the past 6 races is 10.6. The boy is nearly averaging a top 10 finish. Colleague racing seems to have turned the corner because we also saw Justin Haley have speed in qualifying at Nashville. He obviously almost won the Chicago street race. So AJ Allmendinger, only 13 points back, riding some momentum, and he's got some great tracks coming up. He's got 2 road courses before the playoffs begin, 2 road courses that he's won at before. So wasn't looking good a few weeks ago, but now I'm doubling down. AJ Allmendinger will be a playoff driver this season. Danny, what do you have to get off your chest this evening?
What I have to say is that I am excited to get to go to New Hampshire for the first race this weekend. For the first time, I get to go see a race there this weekend. But there's a chance that it could rain. And whatever they need to do, use those wet oval tires, make it happen. Let's let this weekend be the first time that we get to see that really go. And let's try it, because I only got one chance to really be there at the race. I guess I theoretically could go on Monday, but I don't want to, because I have a cool time and Maine planned for Monday, including my first ride on an Amtrak train. Y'all know I like trains. Eric said he's getting off the train. I'm getting on the train, literally. So run it. Do whatever we can. Use those tires.
Well, mine is sort of in the same vein as Eric's, but I'm going to go a step further. And I'm not even going to say it's just Allmendinger. I think that one of the colleague guys, 16 or 31, as well as Michael McDowell, will beat on points. Now, they can get a win in this time, but I think off of speed and finishing and points alone, the 34 and one of the colleague cars will beat not only Daniel Suarez, but also Bubba Wallace. And I think that the 99 and 23, for that reason, have to win to get into the playoffs, because McDowell's supremacy will reign and colleague will continue to surge up. That's my hot take.
That is a pretty hot take. I just put a poll in our live chat here on YouTube asking who had the hottest take. I thought I was in the lead there until Jarrett one-upped me by saying not just colleague, but also Michael McDowell makes the playoffs. So a chat vote on that. We'll touch base in just a few moments. We're still waiting on Darian. Traffic must be terrible. We need to get like a Find My Friend, Find My iPhone. Someone needs to put a tracker on Darian. I worry about him sometimes. But gentlemen, let's talk about Atlanta. Were any of us at Atlanta this trip? I know some of y'all have been to Atlanta before. I have not been to Atlanta Motor Speedway, but boy, I sure feel like I need to make the trip, especially after Sunday night's race. I want to start with you, Jarrett. First off, just your impressions watching, I don't know, probably watching the best race at Atlanta since the repave. Guys were just go from start to, shortened finish. But what was your takeaway? Or I don't know, I guess, what was your reaction just watching the race? Because I felt dizzy.
My reaction was that if this is the kind of super speedway racing that we're going to get with Atlanta, I'm okay with the reconfiguration. I did not like the first three styles of racing, even if I did think they got better. I think the reason I liked each one a little bit more than the last, even if I wasn't too big a fan of it, was because it continuously got more different than the crash 'em, wreck 'em super speedway racing we've been getting. I thought that so far this is the not only best Atlanta super speedway race, I think this is the best next gen super speedway race in total, simply because handling mattered. And I am someone who is a huge fan of that 2009 on back kind of super speedway racing. Really, I'd say about 2000 to 2009 where I'm a big fan of. I did like the Gen 6 package, though I thought some of the drivers made some pretty dumb moves in that one. But I thought this emulated Gen 4 pack racing better, in my opinion, than any other package has. And it 100% had to do with the track, because you can see that track visibly is more worn out than it was even in the spring. So my reaction is, if that's what we're going to get, I love that. I'm cool with Atlanta being like that. And that's the super speedway racing that NASCAR needs to go for, not the crash 'em up one.
Yeah, I love, like you said, I did like the final Gen 6 super speedway package, but it did everything's artificial, but artificially wad up the field to where there was so much pushing, bumpers not lining up. It was so easy for a crash to take out 20 cars that I do understand why some drivers weren't a fan of that style of racing. I'm with you, though, that Atlanta this weekend especially looked like pre-repaved Daytona, and was a beautiful hybrid of handling and drafting style racing. But Danny, your first impressions watching the race Sunday night, would you make of the action?
Definitely thought it's exactly what we've come to know this new Atlanta package to be. But I said this on Twitter, even though it felt like I said all this just for Byron to put his big hat on. The rain coming honestly made them race better, in my opinion. I think without it, we would have saw a lot of. As much as I like trains, I don't like it on the racetrack. We would have seen a bunch of trains on the racetrack, and that wouldn't have been as entertaining as what we ended up seeing on Sunday. So, for what it was, for how short it was, I think we got the absolute best show because of we didn't know when the rain would be there.
Well, who I want to hear's take on this is I want to hear our co-host Darian's take on this. He came in just the right time. Well,
beautiful.
If he'll pop it. There you are.
I want to mention Hunter Nixon Fishing sent a super chat. We will get to the rest of those at the top of the hour. But he said, although I prefer old Atlanta, biased Harvick fan, I was at the race this weekend and it was a great race. I was entertained the whole time. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But Darian, for our listening audience, Darian Gilliam has now entered the call. Fine. Darian, we were just talking about Atlanta. We were giving our just initial take on the style of racing we saw. What'd you make of the Cup race at Atlanta?
Well, what we saw was the hybrid Atlanta that I've been waiting for, that I figured would come as soon as the surface started aging, in a few years. And it came a lot quicker than I thought, though. I mean, like, this was an actual race where not only did you need, speed, drafting, but you also needed handling. And that's one of the things I miss about super speedway racing, especially from the old days, the good old days, as we call them, the early 2000s. I mean, that's exactly what it reminded me of, early 2000s super speedway racing.
Yeah, I think that's similar to what me and Jarrett said as well. So I think we're all in agreement. It was nostalgic. It was, I think, action-packed. And I agree with Danny that the impending rainstorm certainly upped the intensity more so than we would otherwise see. But let's talk about the finish of this race. Before we get into the winner, William Byron, do you guys agree with how NASCAR called the end of this race? That's been a hot debate. The rain was coming. We could all see that it was going to wash the night away. But, NASCAR after I forget what the final caution was for, but they kind of rode around for a good, more than that. It was probably about 10 minutes before eventually parking them for the red flag. Do you think NASCAR should have been more aggressive, tried to run a few more laps, or do you think they were right to play it safe?
Can I go first on that one?
Of course.
Yeah, and at the time I was kind of upset because it's like I really wanted to see Suarez pull that off in the end, because I wanted to honestly see a 3-week in a row Trackhouse win 3 different drivers, just because that would have been cool. But looking back on it, I think that they did make the right decision. Sure, they might have even just wrecked as soon as they did a restart for no reasons unrelated to rain. But at that point, NASCAR did know it wasn't if, it was just how soon And in that case, it was a little bit longer than I think they wanted, but they knew it was coming. And we didn't want a repeat of Daytona from last year or New Hampshire from a couple of years ago. And I think they made the right call.
I think so too. Darian, Jarrett, y'all have any differing takes? Do you think they should have been more aggressive?
No, I mean, like I was gonna agree with Danny and stuff, but I mean, the only arguments I could see for the other side would be, oh, we would have gotten an awesome finish. Oh, they could have ran like 10, maybe 8 to 10 laps beforehand. Like, but the reality is that if they run those laps and if these cars start wrecking and shit, and if we get some type of winner that didn't really deserve it, then everyone would be complaining. So NASCAR was in a lose-lose situation here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
See, I think the issue isn't how it ended. I think it's just something that NASCAR needs to fine-tune on the other end of the race. If we're going to do Sunday night races, which has become, I think, a pretty big debate I've seen this week, I think NASCAR needs to do a better job. And I think right now, this year is sort of more the testing, pushing it out phase. We saw it with the Clash. We've seen it with the last 2 weeks before this one, and now Atlanta. And granted, this isn't going to fix it every time, but I do think that maybe starting at a half hour earlier, that way you can get the finish into that prime time window, even when it's not rain. I guess that's the only way I would say maybe could fix this. The other end with the rain, I'm going to sound like a parrot here with what you guys have said. I'm fine with them ending it. Yes, I think they could have rushed the restart. They probably could have got 5 to 10 more laps in. And so in that sense, I guess it's not completely perfect how they called it, I guess. But I would much rather, and I said this after Daytona, I'd much rather we take them down pit road before the lightning or rain gets there, even if it's not on the track, but we know it's going to hit at any moment, than do it. It's not exactly like Daytona in the sense that, we're not going to have probably a Florida pop-up shower in Atlanta, or Hampton, Georgia. But we saw the same thing with New Hampshire. I'd much rather us be upset we didn't get enough of a good race than that good race be spoiled like that Daytona race was, which I thought was pretty awesome up until that crash. And that New Hampshire race, which even though that ended kind of controversially, still was a pretty good race, even for New Hampshire standards, just for race standards overall. And we remember it for the first 4 laps. So I'd much rather we remember the race for something better and then maybe work on start times or work on procedures later than completely overshadow the good momentum NASCAR has right now.
Yeah, it was a trade-off. Like Danny said earlier, the great racing we saw was at least partially the product of the rain coming, but we kind of knew we weren't getting all the way to the end. At some point, this race was just going to end before we were ready for it to end. So you kind of, at least personally sitting down, I was prepared for an anticlimactic finish, and that was just kind of the trade-off. I like Isaac in the chat says, what's NASCAR Shill's opinion on this?
Of course,
that I want to know. I want to hear that.
He's going to agree.
They probably agree with us. Honestly, we kind of sound like NASCAR Shill. Oh, NASCAR got it right. They couldn't do anything wrong. But gentlemen, let's move on and talk about William Byron, who got this win tonight. I saw a super chat a moment ago from Gary Buki, said, so close to the 3 straight Trackhouse sweep, all 3 cars winning back-to-back weeks, almost witnessed more history. Unfortunately, lame ending though. Oh, well, hope y'all have a good one. Do y'all agree with Gary Buki that it was a lame ending? I guess we do. I guess we all do agree it was kind of a lame ending, but William Byron getting the win, Big Hat Byron, was that kind of anticlimactic? I guess he's now the winningest driver in the series this year.
I'm gonna go fully lean into the Hendrick hater trend here, but I think yes, and I think any major driver up front winning that race after the guys we had up there was gonna seem like a letdown. I said it in our chat. I'm like, all of this for a William Byron win. We had Allmendinger up there. We had McDowell up there. McDowell's supremacy was 3 spots away from reigning over all of us. We had all of these great options. Daniel Suarez was up there. We had Chris Buescher, who by the way, Chris Buescher, this should wake people up so they can look at his stat line overall. Chris Buescher, if I'm not mistaken, has the same amount of top 10s this year as Ross Chastain. I'm opening up my stat book just to be sure. I believe it's Ross.
Jared takes stats by hand, by the way. This is old school.
Yes. Yeah, he doesn't have the same amount of top 5s. Chris Buescher should be known as a sleeper moving forward. But we could have had a Chris Buescher win, a Brad Keselowski 80 race winless streak. So if it was Kyle Busch, I'd feel the same way. If it were Chase, Chase Elliott would have been a really fun one with the storylines,
the playoff drama.
But if it was, if it was Chastain, I'd probably feel that way. If it was Denny Hamlin, I'd feel that way. So it's not necessarily I dislike Byron. That's why it's kind of a letdown finish to me. It's more just, man, we were so close, close from greatness.
Oddly enough, I have to ask, is that a Byron throwback hat you've got on?
Actually, it's a Days of Thunder hat.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. He did do a throwback.
So yeah, I guess you could say so. It's in the theme.
Yeah. So I'll counter argue that and say, like, well, hold on. What was the original question? Like, was this like a boring win, or was it? Anyway,
I wanted to just talk about William Byron.
I think a lot of people. It's not really him per se, but honestly, the hat thing is just weird. I don't get it.
Yeah,
I'm a big time big hat hater. I think that's so lame.
But anyways, though, well, I mean, like, I'm not, when William Byron has like a little personality, then like you got to do something, right? But anyways, I mean, but he's a hell of a stock car driver, though. I mean, 4 wins, the most all season. But I'd say this win was definitely, I would say this win is his most impressive all year. Here's why. Okay. He came back. Remember, he came back from a spin, flat tire, all that. Okay. He came back, and he had some strategy calls, help him out towards the end there. But you know what? Hey, props to his crew chief there. They made the right calls towards the end. And I was thinking towards the end of that race, I'm like, hey, this is where the crew chiefs, make their money and stuff. You're either a hero or a zero in these cases. And William Byron's crew chief, Rudy Fugle, was an absolute hero. Was able to get his guy up front, right place at the right time. Hey, that's what it's all about in some of these races sometimes. So I don't think it's a letdown win. Honestly, I'll say it's like his most impressive win.
I have a question for all three of you. Who are the 2 drivers that William Byron tied on the all-time wins list with his 8th career win? By the way, half his wins have come in, what was his first one this year? Las Vegas. So have come in the last 16 races.
Yeah. Ooh.
So who is he tied with 8 wins?
8 wins.
McMurray.
No, McMurray.
No, he surpassed him, I think, right?
Yeah, McMurray has 7.
I can tell you who I think one is.
Go for it.
His girlfriend's brother.
Correct. Ding, ding, ding. Ryan Blaney's one of them. Okay.
Damn.
Don't look at the chat.
Alex Bowman.
Nope. Bowman's at 7.
No, he's lower.
Don't look at the chat, but who is the other one? We've talked about him on the top 75 list.
Kyle Petty.
Yes.
Yep, that's it.
Nice.
That's right. Damn, that's right.
I know the chat's probably like all of them in there, but
hey, pretty impressive.
Yeah, I thought it was Bowman, but I was like counting because I know. I was like, no, he's less now. That and Fooey, he had that on Byron forever. Now it's gone.
Yeah, but finally, it's about time Byron does this stuff. I mean, like, so he's got 4 wins this year. So half of his career wins have came this year. So, and he's been in the Cup Series since 2018. I know he was young when he came in, and I know Hendrick was in a rebuilding phase, but we had been waiting like, I'd want to say like, oh, okay, 2021. Okay, this is the year, right? Didn't happen. 2022, last year, this is the year. Didn't happen. And now it's finally happening. Thank goodness.
He's avoiding that summer lull that he had last year.
It took him longer than Chase Elliott to get the first win, I think. And then, but once he got going, he got him a lot faster than some of the other drivers.
It was funny in my post-race stream, I think, because Byron, I believe, is the same age as me, I want to say. I think he's 25. So. Yeah. And I'll say 8 wins by 25 is impressive.
I have 0.
Same.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah,
you know
actually,
what? You know what?
Actually, he's a month younger than me.
Hey, you know what? Fun fact, I will always have this over him. Remember, I beat him at NASCAR Heat, so I have 1 win over William Byron. So that's saying.
Forgot
just
about
saying.
that.
Just saying. Well, but no.
So, and remember, his career started on a computer.
Yeah, that's right.
And you beat him at his own game.
Well, what I'll get to is somebody had brought this up. So remember, I believe William Byron and Jeff Gordon are the only 2 that have won in the 24, correct?
Yes.
All right. That's 101 wins now for the 24. So I had somebody in the chat who was like, I want to say it might have been Tyler McGonigal in the chat. So Byron fan asking this. I'm not doing this to dunk on Byron. I'm just saying, like, 8 is impressive. Well, then he goes, well, how many did Jeff Gordon have by then? And I was curious. I was like,
Oh
because
no.
I didn't know what age he was. So I want y'all to put the guesses in really quick. I want the three of you to. I'm sure I'm not trying to turn this into a game show.
By the age of 25?
By
right?
the end of the season, he was 25. Yes.
Gordon had probably 20 wins.
I'm gonna say, hold on, 24.
Because he hit double-digit wins like his third season, something like that.
Something crazy. Yeah.
Maybe
and then
second. I don't remember.
I'm wondering if it's a trick question. Was he even 25 when he started racing?
He was. It's not a trick question, I swear.
Yeah, he was one of the younger guys. Like,
Okay, I knew he was young. I didn't know how young he was. Okay. I'm gonna say 20.
29.
Oh
Damn.
my! By 25,
he had two 10-win seasons by the end of his season in '97 when he had a 10th win. Or,
I knew it was a lot.
He was 25. So
I forgot how young he was.
There is nobody who can compare to that right now.
No, but
way.
what I'm saying is like someone brought that up, and that might make what Byron's done by 25 seem kind of insignificant. I don't think so. What Byron's done is impressive. It's just funny when people I don't want people to compare him to Gordon like I just ironically did. But I just wanted to bring that up at some point because people in the chat brought it up and it was really interesting. But 8 wins so far, and he won't turn 26 till the end of the year. So he could realistically also have double-digit wins by
he just needs
or
21 more wins to match Gordon. How many races do we have left?
17.
Like 16, 17?
Yeah.
We're gonna start doubling them up or somehow, some way. That's fascinating though.
So he would have to start it right now. The only person who could have a chance is Ty Gibbs, but he needs to take off and average 5.8 wins a year starting now.
Good luck, Ty. We're rooting for you.
Good luck
History is meant to be broken. Or wait, no, it's records are meant to be broken, not history. Don't break history.
That's just to equal him. He needs to do more to beat it.
No pressure at all. Congrats though to William Byron. We actually have Tyler McGonigal just sent a super chat. Byron. Jarrett needs to never have him missing the playoffs again. And so yes, he says he is the resident Byron fan. Yeah,
he is a huge Byron fan.
I signed a Byron car for him. That's enough. Okay.
We also just hit 600 concurrent viewers, which we really appreciate everyone tuning in live on a Wednesday night. We were talking before the show. This is like the one night a year where like the NBA, NHL, MLB, and NFL are all off. I think there's summer league maybe, but who's watching the summer league? Wemby's already shut down.
Wembayama is night. He's out of it, so there's no point.
Yeah,
that's off tonight too. It's like the one dark night of the year.
Yeah. So we own this evening. Might mark your calendars. Let's talk about some of the other drivers though that impressed, specifically some of the Fords. Before I think the second to last caution, which forced guys like Keselowski to pit for fuel. It was awesome. You had the 2 RFK Fords of Keselowski and Buescher dueling the Penske Fords of Cindric and Blaney. Logano was in the mix. I think Kyle Busch was in the mix. It was great, but seeing Brad actually pull ahead of his former car, his former teammates, was really cool to see. Once again, RFK looked to be the class of the field at a super speedway. Just, the rain came at the wrong time. Strategy didn't work out. But I mean, we can talk about the Fords, but I guess I want everyone on the panel here to highlight one driver who stood out to them, either with how they ran or how they finished Sunday night. Who wants to go first? I know I'm putting y'all on the spot.
I'll go.
Go, Jarrett.
I brought him up earlier, Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher, this over this year, totally, has been one of the most overlooked drivers. He's, I think, running about as fast, at least consistently. Maybe not as fast, but smarter, or at least staying out of trouble more than a lot of guys up front. And he did the same thing on Sunday night. And I think that if Chris Buescher can, I think learn more from Keselowski, he might be that next big super speedway racer. He's already got the road courses on lock. I believe he has 8 top 10s in a row in the road courses.
Yeah, he's been dynamite.
This year so far, now because of how many laps he led, though, he has almost 100 laps led. I have to think that's up there. Has to be the most he's ever led. That one DNF, he stayed out of trouble for the most part. He was up. It was like him, Keselowski versus the 3 Penske cars. Because for once, Austin Cindric showed up.
Yeah, Yeah, and the RFK Fords pulled ahead. That's what I thought was so exciting, and that's kind of where I wanted the race to end. Selfishly, as someone who wants to see Brad do well, I've become a big Brad fan in the last year. I just love what he's doing over there. What were you gonna say, Danny?
Me and Jarrett especially wanted to see Brad do good.
Yeah, we
picks. Yeah. See, technically, I picked Blaney for the race, and I was still rooting for Brad. But I want to mention a couple drivers real quick. Eric Jones finished 11th. He didn't run particularly great. In fact, he was involved in a few incidents. There was one with, who was it that kind of came down? Was it LaJoy and Jones?
3 issues.
And the LaJoy deal, I thought, Jones wasn't quite on the bottom, but LaJoy also came down.
It was like they were both at fault in that situation.
Yeah, but Jones definitely got into other people. The one thing that stood out to me about Eric Jones, who I've called the most underrated super speedway racer in the Cup Series, not sure if that's still true, but it was for a time. He was the most willing driver to run that third lane. Like he was running the Larson line up against the wall
and
by himself. Truex did it a bit as well. I think Bubba did towards the end to make some time up at one point, but Jones consistently, I was just watching. It was remarkable.
Never knew it was there until this race. Like they just made it work. And I guarantee in the spring, we'll see a lot more guys doing that.
Darian, were there any drivers that particularly stood out to you Sunday night?
Are we talking about just Ford or are we talking about anybody?
Could be anyone. I started with Fords, but it could be anybody.
Well, there's a couple. They happen to be Fords. I mean, first off, top 5. All hell McDowell supremacy, y'all.
Yeah.
It says a lot about a guy who, just stays in the race, just remains patient, and then is able to finish when it matters the most. And that's been McDowell, really. I feel like this year in general, he's been the type of guy where it's like, okay, he's not going to be contending for wins and stuff, but he's running just about where he needs to be in the teens and just barely outside the top 10 or just barely inside the top 10 and getting those finishes when they matter the most. But then also, shout out to JJ Yeley, P7.
2009 F1 champion, according to Fox.
Oh, yeah, that's right. But now JJ Yeley's best finish since 2008 at New Hampshire and his first top 5 since then as well. First top 10 since then. Yeah, first top 10. So, yeah, props to him and Rick Ware Racing for getting it done.
When I saw him up there, I was like, oh, good strategy. Got him a good restart here, but he stayed up there, so he didn't really fall back.
Yeah, he stayed up there.
He legit raced for the win.
Yeah, like there's another underfunded team too. We were actually on.
Don't take them all. Don't take them all.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm saying. I just want to say, BJ McLeod though, he had shown some promise, but then, unfortunately,
Darian swept up about half the field. Jarrett, did you have someone you wanted to talk about?
I talked about someone. I'm like, Danny's had someone too.
Oh yeah, my bad, Danny. Yeah.
I want to talk about JJ Yeley. So who's left in here? The Daytona 500 champion, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. got another top 10.
That was good.
And
of course,
AJ Allmendinger. We always talk about him having a chance on the road course as well. Don't forget, he has a chance on super speedways too. So,
absolutely.
How about Ty Dillon? It's like the one time a year that he'll actually be the highest finishing Spire car.
Yeah, what do you get? 19?
Yes, finally.
You know what's odd about this? And this is no disrespect to our lovely partners at Live Fast Motorsports we were with. It seems like Ty Dillon is always fighting that similar number 78 car, even when they're both doing good. They're still right beside each other all the time, whether they're in the back or in the middle.
One other driver I want to mention is Daniel Suarez. We've talked about him a little bit, but he finished second, played the strategy a little bit, but also had some speed. But I said on my show last week that they've struggled lately. They'd fallen out of a playoff spot. I said that these next 7 or 8 weeks, whatever it is, he needs to dig deep, figure it out. His Trackhouse teammates have been winning the past few weeks, and Suarez, we got a super chat earlier that mentioned it, came so close to making it 3 in a row for Trackhouse, actually pointed his way back into the top 16, at least for the time being. So I wanted to give Suarez some credit for coming through in the clutch and having a great run. Just needs 6 or 7 more of those, and he'll be a playoff driver once again. Real quick, before we actually look at the playoff cut line, I meant to talk about this earlier. We jumped right into the racing, but before the race went green, what do you guys think of that very cool Kevin Harvick tribute? Richard Childress driving around the 01 Monte Carlo that Harvick got his first win at. They were both in front of the field together. Like, you even heard, I guess we were all watching at home. We were all watching on TV, but so you guys heard Harvick's in-race, interview. Like, he sounded emotional. Like, I kind of felt bad that he then had to buckle down and go racing just a moment later because, he was in his feels up there in the front of the field. driving next to his old boss and old race car. But what do you guys make of that sort of touching tribute?
Anytime I can see a Gen 4 car on the track, it makes me happy in general. But I mean, I'm just glad that Harvick is getting the type of send-off that a lot of big name drivers have gotten in recent years. Because I feel like Harvick is one of those drivers if you look at his stats and you look at more in depth like the four of us have, like you understand how great his career has been, especially going over to SHR. But I feel like he's someone almost that a lot of people take for granted for being an all-time great. And I'm glad he's getting that kind of treatment because it's not the only race that this has been, some kind of tribute like this has happened to. But I also love the fact that Richard Childress and Kevin Harvick, after how ugly that breakup was, they've completely buried the hatchet, seem to be just as good of friends as they were back in the 2000s. And I love that Childress was the one who was able to drive it out there for him.
Yeah. No, that was cool.
Really shows that that Richard Childress doesn't just look on his success as a car owner as just Dale Earnhardt. We've seen him go out and drive the 3-car. We've seen him do it with people like the owner of Bass Pro Shops and the owner of Team Realtree. They've ran a couple of cars, did some pace ups with those guys, but this is one where equal partners with both of those drivers. Kevin Harvick was a huge part of the team's, continuance. Without him, who knows if they didn't have Kevin Harvick winning races for him in a very dark time, honestly, who knows if Austin Dillon gets a chance to get in the car, if it's even still around at that point.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, the team could have folded at that point. I mean, Harvick won less than a month after Dale Senior's passing.
Just 3 or 4 races.
Yeah. He wasn't the only driver to win after Dale Earnhardt Senior's passing. What we saw Clint Boyer come through, do really good. We saw
Paul Menard
won Brickyard 400 win.
Yeah.
Jeff Burton won a couple times, but none of them compared to what Harvick did.
And what? We talked about age earlier. I mean, all that weight also, and this isn't, comparing back and forth of who had most responsibility or whatever at that time, but all that weight on a 25-year-old shoulders. I mean, he's 25 that season.
And he wasn't even supposed to be in Cup full time until the following year either. So it was you just got rushed in basically due to tragic circumstances.
And that first win, in a lot of ways, that's huge for Kevin Harvick's career. But I look back on that win and I don't really as much remember Kevin Harvick or the burnout he did, which was also a really cool burnout he did back then. But I remember the shots of seeing Chocolate Myers in tears after they got that win. That's what I remember. That particular car, when I think of that race, I think of the healing that it was for Dale Earnhardt's team.
It's a great point. Yeah, it was a great tribute. I wanted to highlight a super chat we got earlier from Fred Dog 81. They asked, what other Harvick tributes would you like to see on the remaining tracks? I'd like to see him and Mark Martin commemorate the greatest finish in Daytona 500 history.
I don't know if Martin's going to be down for that.
I don't think Mark Martin wants to relive that necessarily, but
he wants the better ending of that.
Yeah, the good.
To kind of add some good news on top of this for something that could be done. Talking about Chocolate Myers, I believe it was last week they announced his cancer's in remission. Yeah. So if he's up to it,
they rang the bell.
Yeah, if he's up to it, I would love to see something with him and Harvick, just because we always hear about stuff. Anything we see with Chocolate Myers is about Dale Earnhardt, but people forget he went through that the same time with Kevin Harvick. I would love to see them talk about it in a little piece of NBC. Have Dale Jr. interview him. I mean.
Yeah, that'd be great.
If there's anyone who'd be able to interview and ask actual good questions to both of them that people wouldn't have thought of before, it would be him.
I'm sorry for being a dumb NASCAR fan and not knowing this, but was 2001 Chocolate's last year? He do any more after that?
I think he did one more, or no, a couple more years, right?
I think if I'm not mistaken, I remember Harvick saying something before that they tried to run it back in 2002 and it just went completely off the rails. It wasn't his team. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the same emotional ride. And so I think 2003, the team kind of started anew.
Okay.
I could be wrong though. I was 5.
Yeah,
If
I
the
don't know
chat,
if
if the chat
Atlanta-
knows, correct me down in the chat.
One track that definitely needs to do something for Harvick is Phoenix, and Harvick could very well be contending for a championship. But Phoenix at the end of the year, how many times did Harvick win there? 9, I think, 9 or 10.
A lot.
Yeah.
I think he has
They
the most
definitely-
wins in the track's history now.
Yeah, they should definitely do something. Name their southernmost tunnel after Harvick.
Oh, come
like,
on. Name
Homestead
it
did.
Kevin Harvick Speedway.
Yeah.
You did it. You did it for Jeff Gordon. Let's do it for Kevin Harvick.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah. There you
And
go.
honestly-
They've set
and
a
also-
precedent.
And also at the end of the race too, I mean, if they want to do what they did with Johnson in 2020, but this time have the camera actually show what's going on. Everybody just gives him the high five and stuff on pit lane. Everyone lines up. He had to replace the man who originally did that, so why not go out that way?
Yeah.
2 notes going back to what we were just talking about. People said chocolate retired after 2002. And also, since we brought up the word chocolate, the chat was quoting SpongeBob. Chocolate.
No, what you need to do is quote the best line in SpongeBob. 4-ply. I told someone I'd be able to say that in this show. We found an opening, baby.
Season 6. What season are we on? 6?
Yeah,
Finally found an opening.
Two minute account. 2 minute account.
I don't even remember why that was in the episode.
I'll explain it after, because honestly, like, if I explained it too much about 4-ply toilet paper, people would go different ways with that.
I remember that. I think, speaking of that SpongeBob scene, I remember this time in high school. Kids would like go from room to room selling chocolate for whatever fundraiser thing.
Yeah.
And I just remember these kids came in, some charity thing, and they're talking to our class. Oh, please, chocolate for a good cause. And there's like a silence, and this kid in the back of the class just goes, "What? What are they selling?
What are they selling? Chocolate. What?
They did a spot on impression.
I remember when
great.
they made sweet chocolate. I always hated it.
I wish the people doing the selling had gotten into on the bit as well and continued the scene like Jarrett just did. But I'll never forget that moment. That was so funny.
That's such a classic episode. I always think of the guy saying, "Now I've got you right where I want you. I'd like to buy all your chocolate."
Well, really quick, circling back to what we talked about earlier, NASCAR Shill did give his opinion.
Yes.
Of course you're gonna say that.
Atlanta reconfiguration is a clear success. Thank you, NASCAR. I'd expect nothing less from NASCAR Shill. Real quick, before we get into the ratings and then the poll, where we'll actually hear from all of you guys whether or not the Atlanta reconfiguration was a success, I want to look at the playoff bubble with 7 regular season races to go. Daniel Suarez, I mentioned him a moment ago, he is now in +3. McDowell is also +3, so they're tied for, I guess, technically the final 2 transfer spots. Then you have Bubba Wallace, -3. Allmendinger climbing up the leaderboard. He's -13. In 19th is Ty Gibbs, -26. Austin Cindric still in the mix, -38. Justin Haley up to 21st, -41. And Alex Bowman, sorry, Danny, has continued to free fall down to 22nd, -44.
I know there's some other factors in this, mainly the injury, but what a weird season. He was doing so well when we started this year. Should have had 160 points took away from him from penalties, got 100 back. Then the races he missed from injury basically got back that 100-point penalty. And now he's never good in the summer. So it just tanks. He's tanking and tanking and tanking.
He's tanking for a higher draft pick, but
I wish it worked that way.
sport. Yeah.
I wish it worked that way because then maybe he could draft up better pit crew or something. But
and then
for him, he might be getting ready to learn language in Europe, buddy.
Or sell to real estate.
And if this were the NBA, he would have to go through a lottery and stuff. So like a top pick wouldn't even be guaranteed.
Chinese.
If NASCAR was like NBA, he's heading to the Euro League.
Hell yeah. I mean, like they got some pretty good ballers over there, but no, I mean, like this playoff cut line, man. Again, this is like the type of cut line you live for if you're into the playoffs. But props to Michael McDowell. All hell supremacy so far.
And it's the kind of thing where we're basically 15th and 16th are the final 2 spots that are kind of up for grabs. I think Keselowski, Buescher are 100 points ahead. The only way they fall out is if there's a bunch of new winners, which I don't think that's going to happen at this point. But, we're arguing about 15th and 16th. It's a great, debate. Realistically, all these drivers we just named, let's just be real. Suarez, McDowell, Wallace, Allmendinger, none of them are winning the championship, right? Like, this is like the play-in tournament in the NBA. I know. I guess the Miami Heat didn't make. Did they make it to the finals?
They
this year?
did. They did.
Yeah, all right, so never mind. Anything's possible, I suppose. Michael McDowell gonna be at Phoenix.
And you know what? If McDowell's at Phoenix, if Suarez is the one eliminated for him, just like the Chicago Bull fans, I'm gonna say it, they could have won the championship too. Kidding.
Oh yeah, but also too, like, you have to remember too, like, I mean, Chase Briscoe wasn't a championship favorite by no means, but then somehow makes it to the round of 8. And that was like, I mean, for a moment, we're like, wait, is this real? Like, can he really make the championship? So hey, once the playoffs start, you never know what's going to happen.
The parity in NASCAR is unlike it has been in a long, long time. That is true. And just making the playoffs for some of these teams, especially for call league or even front row,
that's
just
a big deal.
Making the playoffs is a big deal. The bonuses that come with it, the extra attention for your sponsors that garners, that's a big deal.
Well, Danny, you said so. Bowman has had, if I'm correct, 60 points officially now off his tally because of the penalties, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so even with that, he'd only be plus 16 on the cut line. It's like,
yeah, he's done pretty bad this middle of the year, which he usually does.
Well, and I think too, because I honestly think that they were onto something early in the season. I just think it's the injury.
They had a good race going this weekend, but then he did exactly what he did wrong in qualifying, but this time there was Denny Hamlin in the way.
I just think overall, I mean, it's very similar to kind of the performance and different things that would happen with Denny Hamlin back in 2013 when he had, I want to say, the same injury. If not, it was a very similar back injury.
I was surprised to see him go back in the race at Charlotte because I told you guys, I watched Alex climbing up into the pit box at Darlington, and I told you he still looked a little stiff. I didn't know if he was 100% ready.
So I'm not expecting him at this point just because Atlanta, in my opinion, was where anyone could get the big chunks made up. I think the big fight is, at least as we run 15th to 19th, I don't see Cindric turning up, the wick anytime soon. I think Haley had too bad of a start to the season that maybe he'll get a win. But if I'm looking at the guys points-wise to talk about, obviously the guys are separated by 3 from 15th to 17th. Allmendinger starting to get turned on, or turning it on. Never mind. Clip that one.
He's getting what?
Get dinged.
He's dinging it, man, because Indy's coming up. And then Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs, I think, of the points guys, is the wild card when it comes to just making it on points. Because I don't know what to expect. He's going to all these tracks now for a repeat time. Maybe that's a big difference.
It's a shame he got involved in that wreck because he was looking on pace to getting, having a pretty decent points day. But this is also a fact. Half of Hendrick is outside the playoffs. So, I mean, we were just talking about Bowman, but the thing is, like, I would talk about Elliott, but now he's not even on the little playoff list we have here and stuff. He's on the outside.
He wasn't before this week either. He's actually gained 2 spots.
Oh, okay.
He was. It was just he gained 2 spots, but he lost points.
Oh,
yeah. So She Rank in the chat asked, and I'll read it verbatim: how far back is Mickey Elliott? Which, where their allegiances lie. Chase Elliott, I believe, if my calculations are correct, is 60 points below the cut line.
Oh, so
yes.
And let's look at what we have coming up for really everyone's last chances to do this. We've got New Hampshire, Pocono, Richmond, Michigan, Indy Road Course, Watkins Glen, and Daytona. If I'm Hendrick and I want to get my 2 drivers not in the best chances to win, I've probably got to have Richmond and Michigan circled for the 48, and I've got to have Watkins Glen circled for the 9.
And Pocono. He won Pocono off of technicality last year.
Yep, that is
off a piece of tape.
Well, really, but both of these 2 won it by happenstance.
Yeah.
Peter Strata in the chat just dropped a very interesting Larry McReynolds McNugget. The only full team in the playoffs right now is RFK.
Oh, that's
kind of surprising.
Wow.
Now they're only a 2-car team, but still, like 3 of the 4 Gibbs guys are in, 2 of the 3 Penske boys, 1 Stuart Haas.
We got the 1 JTG. I know that doesn't count. That doesn't count.
Well, wait. Technically, I guess Suarez is in, so I guess both Trackhouse guys are in right now because Suarez just pointed back in, but it was before this week he
But
wasn't.
they're
in.
like the RFK guys, unless something catastrophic happens,
They're
should
locked.
be
That's-
locked.
Yeah, they're virtual locks.
Here's an interesting nugget here from Seahawks 24 rule. In terms of owners' points, the 48 is only in the owners' playoffs by 2 points. So that gives you an idea of where the 48 team has been altogether, no matter who's in the car.
That's interesting. Well, and to kind of wrap up the RFK thing in a bow, I don't see who is it? Is it Brad who's 100 points up?
Yes.
I don't see Brad or even Busher losing 15 points a race to the likes of Daniel Suarez, Michael McDowell, and Bubba Wallace.
It would need to be. We need 3 different winners from below the cut line in these final 7 races, and I mean, Allmendinger could win a road course. Daytona is Daytona, but
Elliott's
I don't.
fast still. He could win.
Elliott's fast, so it's possible. It's more possible than years past. You got Bowman back there as well. It's a Hendrick car, but
gotta watch out for Bubba Wallace at Michigan, in my opinion.
Yes,
I agree.
I agree. Yes.
But would he have even been up there if Bell and the Trackhouse guys didn't get taken out?
He still would have gotten a top 5, though.
Yeah, but I don't think he'd be competing for a win because those Trackhouse cars and Bell were really fast in that Michigan race. So maybe that's where you got to watch Suarez too.
Yeah.
I like that we have so much competitiveness now that we really honestly don't know who's going to make these last few spots.
It's exciting. If you're going to have playoffs, you might as well have a lot of parity for stuff like this.
There used to be like, it used to be, the top 12 or 14 were actually decent. And then once you got to like 15th, 16th on back, it's like, who really cares? But like right now, there's a couple of Hendrick guys, a Gibbs guy, 2311, track out. Like these are good drivers, good cars that are vying for, again, valuable playoff positions. So
Spencer saying, take notes, F1.
Parity. That's a scary word.
They're going to be lucky if they ever see a new winner.
Yeah.
At this rate, how many in a row has it been for Verstappen?
He's won every race this year, man. Or no, almost every race. I'm just
going to place a bunch of money on him one of these days. And it's like, first, Verstappen is flipping.
Like, I think, now, Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there's only been like 20 or 25 laps where Red Bull hasn't like been in the lead this season.
Wow.
Some crazy stat like that. So
no. According to the one person from Bloomberg, no, NASCAR's the one that's failing right now. It's totally NASCAR that's the problem.
Wait, did you say? Oh, you said Bloom. That's all I need to hear. Never mind. That's all I needed to hear.
But hey, let's not forget. Even though Max might have won this last race, when the movie comes out, he won't. Brad Pitt won't win that race.
Hey, I'm gonna go see that movie, bro. I'm gonna go see that.
Watch Brad Pitt be the next F1 winner. That's not Max Verstappen.
Yeah, because they also got the guy from Snowfall that's in the movie too. Like, oh, that's cool. So they're getting the stars out. That's awesome.
I think that's gonna be funny if that happens. I'm rooting for it now. But let's get back to NASCAR before we wrap up Atlanta. Let's look at the TV ratings real quick. 2.56 million viewers tuned into USA Network Sunday evening, which is down 4% from 2022, but actually up from 2021. It was the most watched sporting event of the weekend, though. So, all in all, fine. Maybe we're hoping for a little more of an uptick post Chicago, but it is cable versus network was last weekend. So,
and it is Sunday night. Doesn't that make a difference?
The Sunday night would bolster it. The problem is that when you take out the end of the race and the most people would be watching, you take out about 15% of what the audience would be. Which would be around 3 million.
People waking up from their stage 2 nap tuned in and the race was over. Oh no.
Wait, if you really slept during this race, bro, oh my God.
Some people say they do. I don't understand it, but I get it. Everyone has different viewing habits. Go for it, whatever makes you happy.
I saw someone tweet where it's like, why are all these NASCAR fans still mad? And someone went, because these are the ones that take a nap in the middle of the race and they can't because they're actually invested now.
Damn good racing getting in the way of my nap time. All right. Let's move on then to listen to what our viewers thought of the race, Darian.
And it's time for the poll, the famous iceberg poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
Well, it's
you want me to read them? Or...
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. All right. This the iceberg poll. I guess I'll play iceberg today. 56% of our viewers voted great, said that the Atlanta race was great. 27% said it was good, which results in an 83% net positive. 10% of fans said the race was perfectly average, 3% said below average, and 4% said bad, 7% net negative. So certainly swayed in the positive direction. Jarrett, what were some of the top comments fans left?
Well, the first one, I want you guys to ask or give your little answer to it. I swear I've turned this into a game show tonight. From Seahawks 2483, is it positive, negative, or meme?
Positive.
That's a new username. I don't really recognize them. I'm gonna say positive.
I'm gonna say positive. That's a new name.
All right. Seahawks 2483 says, absolutely amazing. I have not been happy with the racing at New Atlanta, but the Cup cars put on an incredible show. Truly what I hoped for with the changes to the track. This was by far the best super speedway race with the next-gen car.
Oh,
awesome.
Oh, he thinks it's the best one. Wow. Okay. It's a little debatable.
I think you came in late. I actually said the same thing.
Okay.
So
I think it's in the conversation. It was probably the first next-gen super speedway race that had 3 lanes working at different points.
Yeah.
And it's weird because this should definitely be the one where it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would put it at least in my top 3 at the very least. But yeah, it's definitely up there for sure.
The top comment comes from Need for Speed 5353, who says, the rain sucks, but we wouldn't have got such a great race without it.
Yeah, that's kind of what I said.
Possibly true, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like this one because I always love when fans know they're biased but are still objective with it too. Even if they like it or don't like it. So Underqualified Sports says, as a Byron fan, I'm so torn on this one. Such an amazing race, but I hate the way it ended. But I can't complain if the 24 wins. So I love
enough.
when fans are like that. That is an awesome take because be happy your driver won.
Yeah.
X_7TY7_X. I swear there's a payoff to this. Says, anytime JJ Yaley's in the top 10 means it's a great race.
Yeah, I mean,
there's someone just being biased
because they're so rare. It's so rare he gets a top 10.
It's fun.
Let's see. Twister1296 says, I was slightly disappointed that it ended early, but this was the best race under the new configuration for Atlanta. It was an incredible race.
I just put a poll asking our viewers the same thing, and our live viewers agree. 91% say this was the best new Atlanta race of the 4 so far.
Andrew Meyer leaves his race rankings. He has this as the 3rd best race of the year, only behind 2nd place Coke 600 and 1st place the Kansas race.
It's fair.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I gotta say, being at the Kansas race, like, I'm gonna be pretty biased. That was freaking awesome. So that's pretty good company to be in because I like the 600 too. JT Soul 7565 says, my first rain shortened race in person, had to happen eventually. Amazing racing. Never had that much fun at a race. 3 people I was with have never seen a race before and they loved it. Nice.
That's good. Love to hear
that's
that.
Cool. It's good.
See, my first rain race was my first race, 2006 3M Performance 400 at Michigan. And that was an awesome race too, which I think the rain probably made that urgency factor too. So again, I love rain racing. I just don't like rain finishes. Yes.
Yeah.
Like I love when there's rain in the vicinity because it's like you have 20 to go feeling all race. Let's see. A lot of people saying best plate race in a long time, best rain shortened race. NBC knocked it out of the park.
Is it safe to say that this was what NASCAR hoped the 550 package would race like consistently?
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. That was what it was meant to do.
FBI says the people who voted bad are probably F1 fans.
Dang.
No, the Netflix series.
The salt is so damn like bitter between the two. I love it.
Yeah.
Ice Car says McDowell is happy for rain. I swear it's not my burner.
He literally was though. I've never seen someone so happy to finish like 4th or wherever he finished, but he was honestly like stoked because he was about to run out of gas.
Well, also wasn't he told to afterwards, like, hey, you're barely in the playoffs now? I mean, that had to boost that. It would have to boost your spirits too. I bet.
Let's see. I'm trying to get like further down. This one will make you laugh, Eric. Based on the joke we had when you were up, Beancraft says only available at Walmart.
Oh gosh, yeah, the fucking title. I don't know why they had that.
Quaker State 400 available at Walmart.
Yeah, I know.
What a terrible race name.
It's so bad. A lot of stuff about JJ Yaley.
Cool. Respect.
This is from Nate Rodriguez. Race equals great. Finish equals ass. Atlanta Superspeedway. Let's see. Okay, we got to the gutter comments. So let's see what we got. I'm reading through, making sure that I can read them without getting the stream nuked from the internet. I think I can. All right. The third lowest was Crazy Creeper, who said, "I did not watch."
Okay.
Okay.
Oh God, I've had so many like these, like, you know,
I don't get
fans
that.
who were like, "I didn't watch it. It was terrible."
Not watching. Like okay,
up.
we don't care. Nobody asked.
Garbage Plate says Willie Boring.
Oh.
Did you say Willie Boring?
Willie Boring, like
yeah,
William Boring.
I respect the pun at least.
I see what you did there. Yeah.
And then DJ Midnight says, another sports entertainment bore fest. Folks, lock in your 2024 tickets ASAP and enjoy it while it lasts, because 2024 will be the last year you'll see NASCAR as you know it. Then he says, long live IndyCar.
Oh my God.
Is this David Land's burner?
To which somebody underneath put fake news.
Oh my God. He said by 20 it's not going to exist.
Tell me you're trolling about telling me you're trolling.
Yeah. Hey, I will admit though, the IndyCar season's been fun though to watch.
I do appreciate the IndyCar support at the end. I think that just kind of is the icing on the cake. That's funny.
That was pretty funny.
At least he didn't try to say F1 was better.
Yeah.
Well, there's a limit of belief here. God, I swear to God, I'm not an F1 hater. It's just not my thing. But that's the point.
We're on a roll right now. Lean into it.
Netflix.
Our ratings were down 4%. I think F1s were down 6 this week. So
we're less sucky.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that it for the
that's
poll?
That's it.
And that'll conclude this edition of the famous iceberg poll on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast.
We typically do our first super chat stage break at the top of the hour. We have a couple minutes. Let's blow through the Xfinity race because, guys, this race just frustrated me. I picked Justin Haley to win. Great super speedway racer. He's won 4 Xfinity races at plate tracks. Running this one is kind of a one-off. And, he got screwed by his teammate Chandler Smith and others running out of gas. Can't help that. But on the last lap, he pulled out a line rather than push his teammate Daniel Hemrick to the win. Hemrick, a full-time college driver, needs that win to qualify, needs those playoff points. And Haley, after the race, said that he felt, the car stumble, like it was running out of gas. That's why he pulled out a line and turned left. I like Justin Haley. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe
it either.
Yeah. But what'd you guys make of the finish? Because at the end of the day, it was John Hunter Nemechek swooping in to win the Xfinity race. What'd you think, Jarrett?
That whole last run irked me. And it was for the reason that, and I'm not saying this because I picked him. I'm saying this just as an objective fan here. I know Austin Hill had the best car out there.
He did.
He did. He was the fastest out there. But when you have 3 colleague cars up there, I was like, Danny, I was walking away almost. When you have 3 colleague cars up there, all working together, doing their colleague thing, you gotta work together to get by. And every time Austin Hill tried to start something, even if he gave someone the option to get down in front, they left him out to dry. And it was like, it would take colleague having a catastrophic failure or just losing in the dumbest way, which we saw both, for them to lose that race. And that was the part that irked me about it. There were so many opportunities for them to all just bust that whole thing wide open, and they didn't.
Sorry, guys. My internet was sputtering. I had to step away.
I don't believe that for a second.
I don't believe
That's funny. I just asked the chat, worst super speedway choke, colleague at Atlanta or Junior Motorsports at Daytona to start the year?
I would say Junior Motorsports because they all pretty much crashed.
To be fair, there was 4 of them in that case instead also opposed to 3. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't believe Justin Haley for a second. I mean, while it might have been maybe sputtering maybe a little towards the end, maybe coming off of 3 or 4. Like, dude, come on, you had a whole lap. You could have just pushed him there. And if it was really sputtering, then okay, you pushed him and then just get out of the way and stuff once he, takes a lead or whatever. But I don't know, man. After the race too, you could just see him and Hemrick, like they were standing beside each other. Haley's just smiling like, oh gosh, we were so close. And then Daniel Hemrick's just like, You know, one of those types of looks. So like he wants to say something, but you know, he's like, no, you know what? This is still my teammate at the end of the day. So, you know, got to play the long game.
The condescending Hemrick glare.
Yep.
77% of our chat says yes, Junior Motorsports' choke at Daytona was worse.
My joke aside, my thought was, Justin, go until you run out of gas. Don't give me that crap.
Yeah. That's what that made it worse. That made it worse was like the lying part of it. It's like if you would have just made like, yeah, look, that wasn't smart. It's like, okay.
It's not that you made the mistake. It's that you lied about it.
Yeah. You made it even worse, basically. Yeah.
We'll talk trucks in a moment. I don't think we have too much to say about trucks.
I don't think
Let's just we'll just get through it. I mean, Corey Heim, baby. It's time.
Time.
Nah, that was crazy. That was like one of the funniest truck races I've ever seen.
Okay, the funniest part was when right before, and we're about to get racing, and there's cars spinning in the corners, and you just see people running 20 miles an hour spinning out, and I'm like, well, damn. Like,
yeah,
I could do that a couple laps and then pull it in the garage.
Everybody was just all over the place.
Since I didn't get a chance to watch either, what was crazier, the ARCA race or the truck race?
Oh, the truck race easily.
The ARCA finish was crazy, but the trucks were.
I'll be right. The ARCA race, other than the finish is going to overshadow. The ARCA race was not that bad. Like I honestly thought the ARCA race was the best race there.
Yeah, until we got some typical ARCA shenanigans. Before then, it was fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, congrats to Corey Heim. I guess on that note, we're just past the top of the hour. Let's break into our first Super Chat stage break. Thank you all so much for the support. I'll just get rolling here. Antar Das sent us 5 earlier on. Piece of advice: during a race, just enjoy the race and not point out a particular driver who's performing well. Cough, cough, Jarrett and Darian. Cough, cough. Yes,
I got an 8 NASCAR, I think, twice in that race. NASCAR Sun 2414 said, hey Eric, how was the Chicago street race in person? It was very cool despite the weather. I did a couple videos that you can check out on my channel that go in depth and include clips and stuff if you want my full takeaway, but it was great. Wish the rain hadn't ended Saturday early. Another one from NASCAR Sun. Hey Eric, who are your favorite announcers from each TV channel? Give me Bestwick from NBC, Larry McReynolds from Fox, and Dale Jarrett from ESPN. See, I'll put Bestwick in my ESPN slot. McReynolds from Fox, that's fine. And from NBC, I'll take Dale Jr. How about that? I don't know if you guys agree or disagree. We'll move on. Isaac for 5. Hello, Fantastic Four. I come from the future with a mission. We're going back in time to March 21st, 2006 to stop the creation of Twitter. There you go. We got a loyal Threads user here. I imagine. Thank you for the super chat. Marky Mark sent 5. Howdy, everyone. Get your umbrellas and wet tires ready for New Hampshire. Yeah, we'll talk about New Hampshire in the second half of the show. The weather isn't looking great once again. Atmos1 asks, y'all like Top Gear? I've only seen a couple episodes of Top Gear.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like it.
I'd like a taste of their energy drink they had on there.
Oh no. Anyway, Hunter, we got to Hunter's earlier about preferring old Atlanta, but being entertained by new Atlanta. Mr. Woods sent 5. Hey, I'm new to NASCAR. What are some tips you have for a newcomer? And that's a big question. Shoot. I think it's more fun when you have a favorite driver or two to root for, but that's asking a lot to get someone to learn the tracks, learn the sport, learn the rules, and learn the drivers at the same time. I don't know. Maybe who are the folks that take a nap during stage 2? Maybe they're onto something. Maybe that's like the optimal way to enjoy NASCAR. I don't know.
I'd say stay off Twitter your influential years of being a fan.
Yeah,
that's fair.
I would say play the games to get more familiar with the field, but that's not that good anymore.
Yeah, you're right. This does kind of suck. Just watch the NASCAR Weekly podcast. We break down the races and have fun while doing
it. and follow Denny Delivers for his memes he makes about the races, especially after the race, because those are very enjoyable.
And Comics by Bruno for his political cartoons that also summarize the race.
Well, not really political cartoons, just cartoons.
I know.
That's the name. That's the name for the genre.
Yeah, that's all, I'm just gonna call it. Logan York, thanks for the 5. Has the rise of Rick Ware begun? Way better results this year.
Nah.
Well, I mean, like way better, but I mean, they ain't gonna be like.
It's called getting Cody Ware out of your car, honestly. You put Ryan Newman and JJ Yaley and
Cole Custer.
Cole Custer.
That being said, without one of his sons, I don't know how much longer he wants to stay in the sport. But
yeah, that's a fair point.
I mean, maybe success will change his mind.
Maybe. NASCAR Son asks you, Darian, what is your hot take this week?
Oh God. Yeah, damn it. Put me
Putting you
on
on
the
the
spot.
spot.
Damn it. God damn.
And if it's better than Jarrett's, we can put it to a poll.
No, I won fair and square. He didn't show up.
I don't know. I'll just say Ricky Rudd should have been in the Hall of Fame years ago.
Cold.
Nah, see, I'm
No,
last.
that's-
I
no, that's
finished
fair.
last. I finished
that's fair.
last.
And we're about at the end of the.
All right. I got two more I want to wrap it up with real quick. They're both Atlanta related. Tyler McGonigal. We were talking about him earlier. Man, I promised myself to buy all the elite Byron race win cars he got this year, but my poor wallet is hurting bad. Do I regret it? Not yet. Oh, man,
Not
okay.
yet.
Well, for his first few years, you're just like, oh, cool, one a year. Oh no.
Now it's 2. No. What are we just gonna like snowball this? Oh, it's 1, 2, 4.
Well, you have to get him a
8.
friend, right? Oh, what's one more? You know.
Yeah, imagine how I was. I didn't get them all, but as an Alex Bowman fan, 1, 1, 4. How'd you do that?
Where did that come from? Last one for this first half. We'll get to the rest of the super chats at the very end of the show from people with Atlanta's success. Should all mile and a halves, or he didn't say all, should mile and a halves be repaved?
Repaved or reconfigured?
I think they mean reconfigured.
No.
That they all need to be repaved at some point, but reconfigured, no.
No, I don't want a band-aid for what we can have as good intermediate racing now.
And leave Las Vegas alone. That place is
The
awesome
only
now.
track
Leave Las
I could
Vegas.
argue in favor of is Texas, but even that one, I'd be hesitant. I would be very hesitant to have too much of a good thing. We got a good thing going.
Put it back
Yeah,
how
just-
it was. I think it would fit this car perfectly how it was before 2017.
Yeah, just add the
think you-
banking again. Yeah.
Yep, I think you're probably right.
If you're gonna add banking like that to Texas, it better be a 3-mile Texas mega speedway.
Absolutely. I love that. But thank you all so much for the super chats. Your very generous support does not go unnoticed. We will get to the remaining super chats and any others that come in at the end of the show in roughly 1 hour. Really appreciate you guys. But gentlemen, I felt a little change in the air. I know up in Northern Illinois, near your family, Jarrett, they've been dealing with some severe weather tonight. I think it's trickled down here to the podcast. What time is it, Darian?
And it's the lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. Jarrett, what do we have on tap for tonight?
We got a lot of interesting stuff. Starting out with Ty Majeski, I believe it was, won the Slinger Nationals last night.
Oh.
I watched that race. Luke Fenhouse, who won a couple of years ago, was in that SRX race. He dominated. Majeski was kind of closing late, but had no chance of getting to him until a guy wrecked with 4 to go, and it set up a final restart. Majeski won. Felt bad for my boy Matt Kenseth. Was really good in qualifying for once, but in the first half, I don't know, something broke on the car, so he didn't finish. But his 8 Slinger National titles will still probably never be touched, at least for a long, long time. I can live with that.
Darn.
Sheldon Creed will make his first Cup start at Kansas, driving the 78 Live Fast car.
That's good.
Looks good.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, it does. Corey LaJoie and Spire are working on a multi-year contract extension, according to Jordan Bianchi.
Yeah.
Well deserved.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's interesting though. I read the full article, and in it, Bianchi mentions that there were some bigger teams that had inquired about LaJoie potentially driving for them. So I don't know what teams those are. Don't know what those deals, how friendly those deals actually were to LaJoie, but it tells me that Corey LaJoie is very comfortable where he's at. I argued on my show that maybe this is a nice way of saying he's not always great under pressure, but I think LaJoie's better playing from behind than with the lead potentially. I think he fits that lovable underdog role better than a lot of others do.
Yeah, some drivers are like that. Yeah.
We mentioned it earlier, but Sean, is it Higurani, I believe, right?
I think it's Hinger. Is there an N in there?
Hangarani. Yes, there's an N
something like
in it.
that.
Yes.
Well, he's been suspended in 1 ARCA race for reckless driving, which the reckless driving rule, if I'm not mistaken, at ARCA is much more detailed than NASCAR's. Like, I actually kind of prefer it.
Yeah.
It like specifically mentions waiting on somebody or you know, like wrecking somebody when you're not racing for position. Like it's a little more specific.
Look, he's only 16. You learn from it, but he's lucky he wasn't fired. Just saying.
We don't know. Well, he's only running a part-time schedule. I guess we don't know when his next race will be.
Maybe he might cut the racism. I don't
Better get ready to sell houses, buddy.
know.
Get ready to actually attend a state college, kid.
Ross Chastain and Busch Beer have finally announced their partnership that everyone knew was coming.
Yeah.
Just another
Cool.
blow to SHR. And then a little promotion piece here. So we announced it. Well, we've had it now announced on Twitter. It's been on the bottom line a couple weeks. But we'll be having our third annual NWP 400 on Tuesday, August 22nd on IDK Players channel. This year's a little different. Gen 6 package, Gen 6 Super Speedway package at Daytona. I'll be in the booth. Darian will be driving as long as he can make it through the duels and LCQ. Maybe be an in-race reporter. And then Eric and Danny will be in the chat, chatting it up. So we'll be all in this year. It'll be a lot of fun. I believe IDK Player on his Twitter and I believe his YouTube community tab has the sign-up sheet ready. So for anyone who wants to sign up, go for it. If anyone wants to watch, which I assume all of you do, mark your calendars because it's going to be fun. You should. It's always fun, man.
If you watch NR Night in America, you know what's coming. You already know what's coming.
Yeah, IDK knows how to put on a good show.
You know what it is.
But yeah, that's the lightning round.
And that'll do it for this edition of the famous lightning round on the NASCAR Weekly Podcast. And now, back to the show.
Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to talk about the next 5 drivers on our top 75 driver list. It's a list that the 4 of us all voted on collectively, as well as you all in the chat. We had dozens of submissions. We're down into the front half. What am I trying to say? We've made it through the first half. We're getting into the true legends of NASCAR. We'll get to that in just a moment. But first, Jarrett, I saw you did a video on this yesterday or the day before, earlier this week, talking about many of the schedule rumors. It's already July and the 2024 NASCAR schedule isn't out yet. I think maybe August, potentially even early September, it'll be released. But there are a lot of very juicy rumors out there. The latest and perhaps the juiciest of the rumors is that according to Bob Pockris, NASCAR industry members are being told to have passports ready to travel to Canada next year. So the Cup Series may be heading to Montreal. That's the expected venue. What do y'all think about that rumor? First off, Darian, the Xfinity Series race there in 2012 last, I believe. F1, I think, still races there, but the Cup Series might be heading north of the border. How do you feel about that?
Oh, it's perfect. This will be one of the best road courses on the schedule. And I'm not exaggerating. I mean, for those who grew up in the era when Nationwide raced there, oh my gosh, because they would usually race there during an off weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
And it would
Watkins
be Glen.
I believe the 2010 one with Borisette and Max Pappas, that might have been an off weekend, or maybe they might have raced the Saturday night somewhere. I don't remember, but I do remember that finish and the spectacular racing we saw there. Oh, it's awesome. And we're breaking into a whole nother market in a whole nother country. It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer, man. I mean, I feel like if NASCAR is going to start going international, let's, I feel like this is, taking baby steps first. Let's keep it in North America first, whether it's, in Mexico City or Montreal. I think Montreal is a good starting point. And then if you ever want to expand to like Europe and stuff, then you can do that. But no, for now, let's just keep it simple, keep it in North America. And Canada.
That was pretty good.
I don't know about you guys, but I know when I look at my analytics, there's a sizable, again, it's not as big as the United States, but there's a sizable amount of people that watch from Canada. It's usually number 2 for me.
I'm going to look up mine really quick, actually.
Yeah, now you got me curious. It's definitely number 2, but I want to see what percentage of my viewers come from Canada.
Yeah, I know for me, it's like it's always between 5 and 10, which doesn't seem very big, but it's still, when you compare it to the rest of the world outside the United States, is huge. And I think there's a good amount of Canadian fans who deserve to have that race up there. I would choose Montreal. I've heard, at least through the rumor mills, most people saying it'll happen. I've heard some saying that it might be like it's a maybe now. I guess stuff can change, but I would be really excited for this. And it would also give me a good excuse to finally get my passport.
So I guess so really quick, 75% of my audience is from the United States. 4.8 are from Canada, but then 4.6 are from the United Kingdom. So it's pretty close.
Wow. 4.6% of mine are from, or do you say 4.8? Okay. Mine are 4.6% from Canada. I only have 1.3% of my viewership from the UK.
I do some F1 content too. So
I guess that's true. That's true. That's where it comes from. Box.
box. But yeah, no, this is awesome. But Danny, did you say anything yet?
I'm actually pulling mine up because I'm just curious now. But Don't let me hold you up.
92% of our
okay.
chat says yes, they do want to see Montreal added. I guess I didn't even need to pull that. I knew they were going to be enthusiastic.
Okay, I think I might win the Canadian base here. I got 7.4% from Canada, 2% from Australia, 1.7% from New Zealand, and 1.2% from the UK.
I think we all kind of see those common names. I'm 4.2 for Canada, 1 for United Kingdom, 0.9 for Australia, 0.2 for New Zealand.
Dang, that's fascinating.
So what we're saying is, if you're outside the U.S., we see you and we appreciate you.
Yes, and you obviously see us. So we appreciate you. Yeah.
Appreciate the Australians for putting up my Tennessee accent. I don't know how you do it.
Another couple of rumors that I find particularly interesting. I joked a little bit about Texas earlier, but it is very real. We've heard Steve Myers of iRacing admit that they are working with SMI on a potential reconfiguration of Texas Motor Speedway. I feel like they have to do something, but at the same time, I don't know. IndyCar's put on a pretty good race there the last couple of years, but I think they need to, like Jarrett said, go back to just the classic 24 degrees of banking on both ends. Whatever they do, it's probably going to stay about 1.5 miles with how big the suites and grandstands are, but I'd love to see them change something about Texas. The bigger rumor that has been tossed around in recent months that I want to talk about is the Brickyard 400 potentially returning. Not exactly sure what slot on the schedule. Maybe it just takes that August date that the road course race has now. But gentlemen, how would y'all feel about the Brickyard 400 making its return if that in fact happens next year?
I'm curious. I personally thought the Pocono wasn't very bad with the next gen. I thought the last couple Pocono races actually haven't been that bad. But I know it would help with the ratings, at least the first year. There's been a lot of people that would want it back. If you look historically, pre-COVID, when it's run on time, Brickyard 400 is one of the most watched races. I mean, we talked about it. 2017, that was the last time there was an audience on NBC when you add in the streaming that was bigger than the Chicago street race one. So I think it would be a net positive for the sport. I'm very hesitant with it because the racing's bad. You know that people say the same thing, but I mean, we tried the Indy road course. The last 2 years have been kind of a cluster, to say the least, especially the finishes. So it wouldn't hurt to try it. I mean, we're pretty much, I think, when it comes to attendance and viewership, we're kind of with Indy at rock bottom. Anything to try is worth it. And if the racing's really good and you bring back a crown jewel, you get a big win out of it.
Oh, how the tables have turned, or really how the times have changed. We were talking about, like I believe season 1 of the podcast, man, get the Brickyard, get this track off.
Hey,
the
we
schedule.
were justified. I think,
yeah, it was bad. But then we gotta look at the Indy road course. And I can confirm this right now. Even IndyCar fans despise the Indy road course. They can't stand it. And for NASCAR fans, it's not that the races are boring. They're usually a joke. I mean, we were at the first race there, and I mean, for the most part, it was good. But then towards the end, oh my gosh!
I'm glad we were all there together because that was a lot of fun, just laughing at all that.
Yeah, just laughing at it and stuff too. But you have to remember too, this is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We're supposed to be, it's one of, if not the most famous speedway in the world. So I get where the drivers were coming from now. Just racing on the oval is so prestigious. It's obviously way different than the road course. But then also drivers are able to control their own destiny a lot more compared to the road courses. Because you're just gonna get ran over on these restarts and stuff. Usually, it feels like. So I think this is the perfect time to go back to the Brickyard 400. Bring back a tradition, and I don't know where it would be on the schedule. I would assume still maybe sometime during the summer,
maybe July. The space out from Daytona.
Because I wouldn't think it would be before the Indy 500. No way it'd be before Indy. No, after it.
I'd like to see it. Our chat also agrees almost unanimously. They like to see the return of the Brickyard 400. What will be interesting to see is if they end up alternating. That was sort of a rumor floated around that 1 year's Brickyard, next year's Indy Road. 1 year. I do like that they double up with IndyCar. And this year in the Indy Road course race, is that the one that Kamui Kobayashi is doing in 2311 equipment? And what's the latest rumor? Oh my gosh, the Supercars driver. There's another Australian driver that's expected to run.
Yeah.
It's Brody. I don't watch Supercars. Brody something. I forget his last name. But it sounds like is going to make a Cup start as well there.
Well,
so Australia going to try to go 2 for 2 this year.
This one, I always say this rumor I'm the most bullish on, just because I know, we all have a few people we know in each garage area, and I know one of the big rumors is that IndyCar is going to pull out of the doubleheader in this basically third race at Indianapolis to make room for Milwaukee, and it would be fitting if it came back in 2024, because that, I believe, is the 30-year anniversary of the first Brickyard 400 back in 1994. So I can already see the marketing for it, like, personally.
Yeah, I think so too. One other interesting schedule rumor I haven't heard too much about on this front, but it's always possible. There's a lot of movement around Rockingham Speedway. It spent a lot of money repaving the racetrack, adding safer barriers most of the way around. I did a video there a couple months ago where I got to visit and check out some of the recent updates. But with North Wilkesboro's return, there's talks of that becoming a points race, and potentially Rockingham could be an all-star race next year. Could be some sort of exhibition, could be something. I think fans would absolutely find that interesting. I've seen in the chat, do you smell what The Rock is cooking? The Rock. Yeah, they love Rockingham. It does have a great name. And it wasn't until recently I realized that Rockingham Speedway was never its official name. It was always North Carolina Speedway or North Carolina Motors. I always thought like, Rockingham had to at least at some point become the official name. No, it's always been a nickname per my understanding. Also some talk that Sonoma could join the West Coast swing. We've always talked about what if they ran Sonoma in the spring when it's a little more green, a little grassy out there. Some interesting potential schedule changes.
Yeah. The interesting rumor I had seen, and because I know that I believe it was Bianchi had been the first to talk about this, is that North Wilkesboro being moved to Easter would mean that there wouldn't even be a spring Bristol date. There'd just be one Bristol date on the schedule.
And I'm fine with that, because I've been saying for a little bit that Bristol only needs one date.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean,
I don't know if North Wilkesboro is safe to keep it, because I still think Nashville makes the most sense in the long term.
The problem with Nashville is that they've moved back, I believe, the vote forward until there might be a new mayor, which, if we're just stuck with this stupid bureaucracy forever, I mean, it's just it feels like this keeps getting locked up.
At least we have a track, so
yeah, they didn't tear it down to only make it 4 F1 tracks around here.
Yeah.
But now I would like Sonoma just because of the aesthetic alone to be in the spring. I would, probably prefer it not to be the second race, because historically Sonoma and road courses in general don't do well TV wise, whereas a track like Las Vegas would. But I'd be fine if it was like end of the West Coast swing, and then right after we go to Sonoma, we go to Coda. We have our little road course spring 2-week span, or maybe they go to Atlanta. I don't know. They can always switch little stuff up. What I'm curious of is if the Bristol race is taken off, then then there's there might be rumors of one or other race, maybe one big race being added or something else. Like, there is still an open race unless you use the Auto Club date for Montreal. How they work that out? Like, is that something, is it something especially Rockingham wise too, where Rockingham is leased out by SMI so they don't lose a date with the All-Star race? How does Montreal work? Is that an ISC project again? And does that work with Fox to be their big date, whereas Chicago is NBC's? That's where I'm curious where the placement of all of this will be.
I think Jarrett would like my idea, because I'm not sold that Chicago will happen again, mainly because of what the mayor feels like there. I feel like we should look at Montreal as the backup for Chicago instead. And if we're going to get rid of Auto Club, bring in Chicagoland to give me a similar track.
I'd say... Because I'd say NASCAR needs to go forward with Chicago happening until it doesn't. They have that backup track in the market. I wouldn't want to leave it, because I think at the moment, I think if they stay in Chicago long term, I think the market can handle for 1 year having 2 races. But I just don't think yet, only being a one-off, the Chicago market could handle the possibility of 2 races happening yet. Plus, I would really want Montreal just to be like locked in from the start, and not just be the lone big street race. Because aren't they saying technically it is a street race? I thought I saw some people saying
Technically, it uses some regular roads
I'm not
on the
counting
court.
that because it does not. If you look at that track and you're like that, oh, that's totally a street race. No one's saying
I
that.
I didn't even know it was technically a street course. I
would, as much as I want Chicagoland to come back, I think the healthiest thing for the sport is one more year in Chicago, and having Chicagoland as that backup plan. So you're insured no matter what. There will be a race in that market. Because from what I've heard, they're not leaving that market long term. Like they need to be in Chicago.
I don't think you can.
Well, I think they've opened offices in Chicago, if I'm not wrong. I might be.
Might have been for that race in particular. But yeah, I think you're right.
So I wanted to come already. I hate waiting until like August and September every year. Remember that year was like in April? That was awesome.
And I saw a funny tweet yesterday about the schedule thing. Our buddy Elijah Burke's about to get married, and his soon wife to be had tweeted about planning the wedding and how hard it is because got a bunch of industry people and stuff that'll be coming. But the schedule hasn't released yet, so it's like she doesn't know what to do.
The hard part is, okay, she works for Lionel. She goes to some races, not all of them. He goes to most races, but still not all of them. But they want to invite a lot of people that are in the sport, and really they're looking at one weekend or the winter.
Yeah,
I mean
that's tough.
I'm off of even that. I mean, you guys, especially all of you that are in the Hendersonville group, have seen firsthand where it's like, when NASCAR's on, I'm locked in. Like whether it's Friday through Sunday, Saturday through Sunday, Saturday through sometimes Wednesday, like we saw at Texas a couple of years back. Like, it's so time consuming for anyone working in or around the industry. I wish there was like a set date like the NFL has, where it's like around this 2-week span, it's out there. And I know it's different. I know it's apples to, I don't know, steak. It's not a comparison. But I do wish there was that structure with it. But that's the price. I would say this is the price to pay for having a really good, diverse, and changing schedule every year.
Yeah, this is
the
what we
longer we
wanted
have
way
to
back
wait.
in.
Yeah, the longer we have to wait, the more it means the more they're cooking. They're cooking up something pretty wild.
They better be.
This is what we were begging for back in like 2018. Like, hey, let's change up the schedule. We're finally getting it. There we go.
But I think that's a good place to end that conversation. I think next up, gentlemen, we've got to continue our top 75 drivers of all time.
We're halfway there.
We've kept the fans waiting long enough. We're actually just past halfway. Tonight we're breaking down numbers 35 through 31. Jarrett, do you have the slides ready?
Yes, sir.
We'll start with number 35. Again, this was voted on collectively by the four of us and you all. Fred Lorenzen, 1965 Daytona 500 winner, also a two-time World 600 winner, 26 career wins, never quite won a NASCAR Cup Series championship, but Fred Lorenzen is our number 35 driver. It hasn't shown up for me yet. There it is. All right, there it is. Jarrett, explain yourself. You had him all the way up at 22. The rest of us kind of in the mid 30s for the most part, but 22, you're high on Fred Lorenzen. Explain.
I'll admit I embellished a little bit, but if I'm not wrong, I still would probably put him higher than any of you guys did. But if I'm not wrong, I do have to also be there supporting a fellow Illinois guy. And I believe Elmhurst, Illinois is where
is from. That?
Illinois.
Okay. It's a big state.
It very much is. But I think he's one of the more underrated drivers. And I think for his time, people don't appreciate him because of the names that have overshadowed him that he raced against. And when you look at what we talked about in the 60s, especially, racing against guys like Richard Petty with factory support and other major drivers who were just coming up who would start to dominate too. I think Fred Lorenzen is another one, and it's a theme, I think, of about 30th on back on this list of one of the greatest drivers of all time who raced against the greatest drivers of all time.
Good point.
So I will defend Fred Lorenzen. Is 22nd embellishing it? Sure, I'll give you that, but I still think top 30 easily is where he should be rated. I think he's someone that's almost forgotten by fans a lot now.
He is a NASCAR Hall of Famer, I believe. I don't remember when he was inducted, but what stood out to me was he won those 26 races in only 158 Cup starts, technically. So we talk about ratios. That's a good ratio, especially like you're saying, Jarrett, going up against some of the all-time greats with the absolute best equipment.
He's no doubt one of the all-time greats, but I mean, here's one of the flaws with his career. It's been well documented. He wasn't the most dedicated guy at times. There was one story, I think it was before either his 1965 Daytona 500 win or one of the Daytona 500s. The dude just straight up partied all night. Think he only got 2 or 3 hours of sleep, shows up to the track, and it's just extremely competitive. He could just get in a car and just wheel it. Natural ability, whether he prepared or not. So, I mean, yes, on paper, 26 wins and 158 starts was high, 30 points, former Daytona 500 and World 600 winner. But just imagine if you were just, if we were more dedicated, how much greater he could have been. So it says a lot that he got a lot done in such a short period of time.
Well, he got the bag a bit in his career. One of his achievements that we didn't have on here, again, this isn't something really that says statistically how good a driver was, but he was the first driver to surpass $100,000 in season winnings. He got $122,000 in 1963. And so he might not put in the effort forth according to a lot of stories, but man, he did get that bag back then. Well, you guys keep going. I'm going to do the inflation calculator and see how much that would be in today's money.
Yeah. So he's basically James Harden as a Houstonian. I actually appreciate that analogy, Brandon.
So I just looked this up on the NASCAR Hall of Fame. There's this article. It says Fred Lorenzen, the $100,000 man, and then he was also nicknamed the Golden Boy and stuff. Also Fearless Freddie as well.
So yeah, I mean that's good nicknames.
Yeah, Fast Freddie. That says it all right there.
By the way, that is 1.2 mil in today's money.
It's not bad.
Basically, 1.2 mil from 120. Basically, times 10 it. I want to say on everything. So be like the equivalent of the first driver to make $1 million in today's money.
Hey, you can question his work ethic and stuff, but at the end of the day, though, he did it his own way, and he still got in the Hall of Fame, and he's one of the greatest. So, hey, he did it his own way. I don't think he would change a thing. So, props to him.
Well, I think we can move on then to the next driver on our list. These next 4 are all a lot more modern. I think a lot of our viewers, including the 4 of us, have seen these drivers race firsthand for many years. Number 34 on our list is cousin Carl Edwards, Coke 600 winner, Southern 500 winner. Never quite got that Daytona 500 win or a NASCAR Cup Series championship, of course, but he did tie with Tony Stewart in 2011. He was runner-up in 2008. He was in the championship 4 with a great shot to win it in 2016. 28-time winner, including 9 wins in 2008, his strongest, probably his strongest year. I mean, I guess you could argue the year he tied for the championship, but 9 wins is tough to beat. Carl Edwards, gentlemen, he is nominated. He's he is a contender. He's a nominee to make the Hall of Fame. Yeah. He hasn't been inducted in. I think if he ever does make it to the Hall of Fame, it'll be a few years from now. But Carl Edwards, what do y'all think?
I went first last time.
I didn't see where we all ranked him. Who do I need to put on the spot?
I ranked him 41st.
Darian, you had him significantly lower than the rest of us. Defend yourself.
I felt like, left before his time. He obviously accomplished a lot, but I mean, there were some guys that I had ahead of him that, I don't know, I just thought, just had, better career overall and stuff for the most part. Maybe did just a little bit more for the sport outside of it as well. But yeah, no, I mean, I still got him at least in the top 50 though. I mean, he's no question a Hall of Famer for sure. And, he's 34th. I don't know. I think 34th is right around. I think that's right. I feel like 30th through 35th is where Edwards needs to be. So
I think we can question it. Do y'all think he's a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Oh, totally.
He's a Hall of Famer. Yeah. He's a Hall of Famer.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think so, but I'm not that definitive on it. I mean,
yeah. He wants some marquee races.
The Hall of Fame, I think, does look at more than just on-track products. So I guess you could say walking away from the sport might hurt his promise for it. But I'm looking at Carl Edwards.
He had won. He didn't have any truck champion. He had one Xfinity championship, right? And it was after he was already full-time in Cup.
Yes.
So, I mean, okay, he won it. Good job.
But I mean, when you look at his career, I think his career is, I would say, just behind Junior Johnson and Mark Martin for the best ever to never win a championship. We talked about he, 2015.
Hamlin, yeah.
Okay, well, Hamlin's still going.
Yeah.
I don't want to count him just yet.
Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, he 2015 he went trophy hunting for crown jewel races. We have him second in points in 08 and 11, as well as Final Four in 2016. He tied for second in points his first full-time season, only being beat out by Tony Stewart, absolutely, and then tied with Greg Biffle in his best season ever. And he qualified for the Chaser playoffs 10 times. Like there is no doubt to me he is a Hall of Famer.
It'll be interesting to see when he gets in because Jimmy and Chad are on the ballot next year. And so I think that's at least one more year Edwards will have to wait. So we'll see. I think there's a good chance.
Put it like this. Everyone always gives credit to Kyle Busch for his over 200 wins across all the series. Across all the series, Carl Edwards has 72 wins, 28 being in the Cup Series, 38 in the Xfinity Series. In the Xfinity Series, outside of his 2002 and 2004, where he only had one start, he won at least one race every year from 2005 until 2012. And 2012 he only ran one race and he won it. And in 2011, out of the 33 races he made that year, he won 8 of those starts in the Xfinity Series. And then even some impressive runs like 08, he won 9 races in the Cup Series. He had a lot of good seasons across all the series. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, 2005, I believe his first career Xfinity and Cup wins. Not only did they come in the same weekend, but I believe he's the only driver in NASCAR history to score 2 first career wins in the same weekend to sweep a weekend. Well, and have it being their first career wins. That's pretty cool.
That first career Cup win, to compare with everybody else, that first career Cup win, he beat. People always remember he beat Jimmy Johnson. He also beat Greg Biffle, who I believe had been the other driver to dominate that race.
Yeah, it was Johnson and Biffle.
Well, and if you remember on the broadcast, they were talking about just tell him to lay back. Third is good. Don't hold up your teammate going for a win. And he went up and beat probably the fastest driver at 1.5 miles that year, and one of the greatest ever in Jimmy Johnson. So,
he's no question a Hall of Famer. He's no question a Hall of Famer.
Vote him in over. Does he get in over Jimmy next year?
No.
But I don't know. I'm coming across such a Carl hater.
One thing though, to hurt Carl Edwards, you cannot play as him in NASCAR 07 and 08.
That he should be ineligible just for that.
We couldn't play him. Oh man. But Edwards 34. That's a good spot.
I think we can move pretty quickly here to number 33. I don't think many people have heard of this guy, but we got to talk about him.
Some rando.
He is somehow he got voted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. I must have missed this, but Dale Earnhardt, is that how you pronounce it? Jr. Apparently there's 2 of them. I didn't know there were 2 of them.
Who?
Joan Bug.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is number 33 on our list. Where do we start? 2-time Daytona 500 champion. He won the All-Star race his rookie year, the first driver to ever do that. Has anyone who's done that since him? I'm not sure if anyone has.
For the All-Star race, I believe Ryan Newman did.
Newman
2002.
2002.
Yep, you're right. It was just after.
He beat Dale Earnhardt Jr. to do that.
That's right. Let's see. He obviously, Pied Piper, Daytona, and Talladega. He won 4 races in a row at Talladega. He never won a championship, but he finished inside the top 5 in points 4 different times. I know I'm outnumbered here. We've got 3 Dale Jr. fans on the panel, so you guys take it away. Dale Jr.
How did I vote him the highest, even more than Jarrett, who is a bigger fan than me?
Well, hey, I had him the lowest. I had him the lowest though too.
Well, the thing with Dale Jr. is he had high peaks and low valleys, and that's something I like. I personally put Carl over him because I thought that Carl Edwards had a very similar career with 4 less years. I know the thing with Junior, when you look at his career, is there's so many polarizing ways to look at it. You can look at 2004 and 2014 and 2015. His late career resurgence, I think, is what got him in the top 40 personally. Because that span, and that's the other way you can look at it, his span from late 08 through to about the start of 2012 was, for a Hendrick driver, atrocious. I don't know if you guys scoured the comment sections of NASCAR.com when they used to have it, back when that website was way more usable, they called him Dale Mears. He was bad.
He was bad. He was bad.
But I'm sorry. I know I'm a homer on this one, but you look at the career he had and how he especially basically just pulled DEI, even when it was dying in 06 and 07 and had either cars that could win or, was competing for a championship. Again, post 04 DEI was not a good team, and he somehow competed for a championship with that team. I think that alone should show his talent. And then just the late career resurgence. I think those two things alone should show just how good he is, even if he did have those low moments.
I look at it like this: the Lance McGrew years didn't count.
I asked the chat who had the greater NASCAR career, Edwards or Dale Jr. Because like you, Jarrett, I had Edwards a couple spots ahead of Jr., but on our list, Jr. is ahead of Edwards. Chat is pretty even, but they're leaning Dale Jr. right now.
Yeah, I mean, like when he was on in the early 2000s, he was on 15 wins in 5 seasons. That's extremely rare. Now, obviously, if he would have kept up that pace, he'd be a lot higher on this list. But obviously, that didn't happen. Now, that late career resurgence too was very interesting. 4 wins. 2014, 2015 gets 3 more. So that certainly helped, just those 2 seasons alone there. But he was able to turn around his career towards the end. He's always been an amazing ambassador for the sport. Had a lot of expectations to live up to. And I mean, obviously he was never going to win 7 titles, 76 rate. That's too much to ask, but 26 wins, 2 Daytona 500s. And if we want to go outside of the Cup Series, a couple of Busch Series championships, I mean, that's a pretty good career.
Good point. He does have twice as many Busch championships as Edwards.
Yeah.
We'll say this: if we're talking dollars, I bet Dale Jr. made more on percentage from merchandise sold than Edwards made in race winnings and merchandise.
Oh yeah,
he probably got. I mean, Jack Roush, I think, didn't pay super. Wasn't known for like super high.
Oh
contracts.
yeah, super cheap.
He might have paid Edwards though. They might have paid Edwards pretty well.
Yeah.
I'll finish off my thoughts on this. I think still, even as good of a career as he had, just because of how the start of his career went with losing his father, I still think Dale Jr. is one of the biggest what ifs ever. Like I think a Dale Jr. with his father there to guide him in his early years, and him not to make as many dumb decisions both behind the scenes and off track. I mean, we read it on a stream together that, like, I don't know if he got arrested or he got pulled over or something for running like ATVs in the yard of some neighbor nearby him on a race week, and then skipped a bunch of different ththings, sponsorship wise and team wise, so that he could go to a Three Doors Down concert halfway across the country. I think, I still think he's such a what if. I'm not saying he's Dale Earnhardt. I won't even say he'd have the career of Denny Hamlin, but I do think he's still a what if that's really interesting to look into, just because there was never a dull moment to be a Dale Jr. fan. There was always something going on, whether it was the tragedy at the start, whether it was the turmoil of DEI, running bad at Hendrick, the resurgence, the concussions. Dale Jr., you could make a movie out of his career, but seeing how the whole ESPN deal did with him, I don't think you're gonna.
Well, we're not going to get a 30 for 30. No.
I'll end the poll. 54% of our live chat says Junior had the greater NASCAR career. It's close. I think it's certainly close. But let's go ahead and move on to number 32 on our list. My boy, Texas Terry Labonte. Does he still hold the record for the most years, the widest gap between championships? Because 1984 and 1996, he was your Winston Cup Series champ. 22 career wins, which honestly, I always forget 22 wins is very, very good. But considering he's a 2-time champion, only 22 wins in the more modern era of NASCAR feels a bit low. But he's won the Southern 500 twice. And they didn't really have the playoffs during his era, but he finished inside the top 10 17 times. So if they did have the chase or the playoffs, he was there every single year. Terry Labonte, gentlemen, I think, Darian has him the highest.
Oh, yes.
30.
Yes, sir. And you know what? You were like, you had just made the comment, damn, 22 wins for a 2-time champion. That doesn't seem, that seems kind of odd. Not really in this era. It was all about consistency. You just said 10. How many times he finished top 10 in points again?
17.
17. And not just for Hendrick Motorsports. He didn't drive for Hendrick Motorsports until way later in his career. You know, he took some of these other teams, you know, from the ground up and helped build up their programs and stuff. 1984, he drove the 44 car. I can't remember who the owner was, though, for that team. But I believe after he left, I don't think that team really accomplished a whole lot. I don't think. But yeah, I mean, he was always consistent. It didn't matter who he was driving for, whether they were mediocre or one of the top powerhouses. He was always, you know, one of the contenders year by year. And also too, that 1996 championship, one of the, I mean, obviously winning a championship's impressive no matter what, but to beat and in his prime, Jeff Gordon teamed up with Ray Evernham. They won 10 races that year. Terry only won 2, and he still ended up winning the championship.
His average finish, his 2 championship years was 8.2, which is pretty great.
Also, one more fun fact, that 1984 championship, he overcame one of the biggest deficits. I believe it was like 400 plus points, I believe. Like with like 10 races to go or 15, something crazy like that. I remember reading in like the little history book. It was unbelievable. He was so it was unbelievable that he was able to win that championship.
Oh, and
any other thought?
The interesting thing about his Southern 500 is 1980 and 2003 were when he won those. They were his first and last wins.
Oh,
that is a good fun fact.
No, interesting.
So
yeah.
I think it both shows how impressive he was early in his career and how impressive he was late in his career. And was he part of the 1979 rookie class? Darren, you would probably know this.
He was.
Give me a second.
I'm looking. He was full time in '79. So yes, I imagine he was a rookie.
Yep. If you look at that rookie class, that might be the most stacked rookie class in NASCAR history.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I know. I believe Dale Earnhardt was in it. I can't remember everyone who was in it, but I remember it was like 4 or 5 really, really good drivers or solid drivers. So there's a lot of drivers on this list that, you know, didn't win Rookie of the Year, but when you look at who came in with them, so it was, let's see, Jeff Bodine was in that rookie class, Harry Gant, Harry Labonte, Dale Earnhardt.
Pretty stacked.
That was a stacked rookie class.
And also, just to get into more his 84 season, sorry about that 400 point thing. I was thinking of something else, but looking back at that 84 season, drove for Bill Hagan. Dale Inman was his crew chief. I didn't know that. So that obviously was, pretty big help there. But yeah, no, I mean, like for most of that season, he was either second or first in points, and he only won 2 races that year. So it just shows, man, this guy was just consistent year in and year out.
Remember,
one of the greatest.
Was it 96 was his second championship, right?
Yes, only won 2 races.
Yeah, but do you remember how he ended that season? The crash at Phoenix?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right. That's right. He did crash at Phoenix.
Well, he won that with a broken wrist, I believe. And they basically like taped it up or put it in a cast that could fit the shifter and the wheel. And I think he had to have surgery on it like after the season. They gave him an option, like you could have it before or you could have it during, but it would end your season, or just race through with it.
Yeah.
So
he
was an Iron Man.
Yeah, he won 2 races that year, won Charlotte and North Wilkesboro. But yeah, again, just another case of him being extremely consistent. And even towards the end of his career, he was pretty decent, even at a well-advanced age in his career, still put up decent numbers. So yeah, one of the greatest for sure, and should be recognized. So yeah. Just he stayed way too long towards the end, though. That's why some younger fans are like, well, should he be that high? Like, yes, he should be this high.
Yeah, I think Terry Labonte deserving of a spot on this list. 32 is a decent place for him. Our final driver we're going to discuss tonight at number 31, we've got Martin Truex Jr., 2017 NASCAR Cup Series champion, that dominant year with Furniture Row where they won 8 times. He's sitting at 33 career wins and counting. How many does he have this year? Two, I think.
I think so.
He's won the Coke 600 twice. He's won the Southern 500. He was the Busch Clash winner this year at the Coliseum, so that's something worth mentioning. He's been in the championship for 5 different times, which I believe ties him with Logano, Harvick, and maybe Hamlin for most all time. I want to say those are the four drivers that have been there 5 times. I could be wrong about that. But either way, Martin Truex Jr. 31st. I can't see it. Where did everybody else have him on their list?
32nd. I had him 32nd.
I had him 28.
35th.
I had him 29th. Jarrett, I guess we're going to single you out now. Why'd you have him down at 35?
I think it's the early part of his career. When you look at
Okay.
Truex's career, his performance generally matches up his equipment. And I think that's a lot of drivers, but I mean, when even he ran well that 1 year at DEI. Actually, I'm rewatching the 08 season now that I'm done with 09, and he ran pretty well, just didn't get the finishes. But he was also outran by guys who are even lower on this list, like MWR. And it's very much like the opposite, I'd say, of Bobby Labonte, where Bobby Labonte's start of his career was great, and then it went way off. Truex's start of his career was really mediocre, and then he got better into his later years. It's a very interesting career. I don't think he's bad by any means. I think he's one of the best ever, as we've said in this list. I mean, looking at those seasons where he qualified in the Final Four. Also, it should be noted, I would say in 2 different eras, end of the older driver era and start of the newer driver era, with 15, 17, 18, 19, 21. So I still, like I said, I still think he's a great driver. And I still think also winning this late in his career will advance him up the list, and probably, would even since April and March when we made this list.
That's a good point.
Definitely.
I also want to correct myself real quick. The chat's correcting me. It was Logano, Harvick, Truex, and Kyle Busch. Those are the 4 who've been to 5 championship fours.
Okay. Yeah, definitely the second half of his career is the reason why he's on this list, because the first 10 years, I mean, he raced part-time 04 and 05, but from 2006 to 2014, only won 2 races. But then 2015, this was his second year with Furniture Row. They had the alliance with Richard Childress Racing, and then everything took off from there. And then the rest is history. Out of his 33 career wins up to this point, 31 of them have came in the final 8 years. So, I mean, like, it's sort of a similar, in some ways, it's sort of a similar career redemption, similar to Sterling Marlin, but on a much higher level. Way better.
It's funny to think about it. Even 2015 prior, even with that win in 2015, Martin Truex Jr. prior to 2015, I wouldn't even have in my top 100 probably.
No way.
That's a good point.
So just the fact that he was able to elevate this quickly, that's rare. That's pretty rare to do in a tough sport, motorsport, especially like NASCAR. But I mean, hey, he had the right team and right people around him and Cole Purner, man, for a little while there. I mean, 2017, you just think of NASCAR in 2017, you just automatically think of, that, stage winner, MTJ,
black and orange car. Yeah.
Alessandro in the chat also brings up a great point. Spingate ended up being a huge blessing for Truex, because he ended up in the right place thanks to that.
Yeah. So hey, who knows? If that doesn't happen, then maybe Danny's right. Truex might not even be in our top 100.
What's funny to think about him being in the right place at the right time. I see it in Eric's background, the 78 car we were on. Yeah, that's a different team at this point, but it's kind of cool. Like, that number we were with, that number has a history of a championship because of that.
Yeah, that's fun. I didn't think about it that way, but MTJ, man, he's definitely one of the greatest, certainly one of the greatest career resurgences in any type of sport, bar none.
Absolutely. So to conclude, 35 through 31, Jarrett has the slides ready. 35th, Fred Lorenzen. 34th, we had Carl Edwards. 33rd, Dale Earnhardt Jr. 32, Terry Labonte. And 31, Martin Truex Jr. Tune in next week. We will continue our list, our breakdown with numbers 30 through 26. Oh boy, we're getting to the good, juicy stuff now. And speaking of getting to the good stuff, it's we're nearing the 2-hour mark of the show, which means we've got to talk about the upcoming race, New Hampshire. And there's a twist to our picks section this week. We'll get to in a moment. First up, it's worth noting a couple things. Austin Dillon, it was announced, will drive the number 10 car for Kaulig in the Xfinity race. Keep that in mind, chat, when we're making picks. Also, due to the threat of inclement weather, there is the damp or wet weather package available at New Hampshire, just like we saw at North Wilkesboro. With that being said, let's start with the Xfinity race. It is the Better Health 200. It's a 200-lap race, 45 laps and 110 are the stage breakdowns. Starts at 3 o'clock Eastern time on USA and PRN. That's Saturday. The weather, 80% chance of rain. There's thunderstorms. Hopefully they get it in, is what it is. The Cup race is Sunday. It's the Crayon 301, not sponsored by Crayola. This is some other brand that somehow has the rights to the Crayon name. It's a 301 lap race around the Magic Mile. 70, 115, and 116. That bugs me, that extra lap, are the stage breakdowns. It's a 2:30 p.m. start on USA and PRN as well. Weather also not looking great. Showers, 95% chance of rain. You just hope it waits until at least we get to halfway, honestly, or if it's spotty and we get to use those wet tires. The defending Cup winner is Christopher Bell, and I forgot to mention this, but the defending Xfinity winner at New Hampshire is Justin Allgaier. Now, I mentioned there was a twist. The SRX, the Superstar Racing Experience, is back. Thursday Night Thunder is back. Tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern time, Stafford Motor Speedway. Weather looks pretty good, only a 25% chance of rain. Ryan Newman is the defending SRX Stafford winner. Jarrett, do you have the entry list for tomorrow night? Because it is truly superstar studded.
Yes, and I want the chat to listen carefully so that they have these 12 drivers for their picks ready to go. Brad Keselowski, Haley Deegan, Bobby Labonte, Ryan Newman, Tony Stewart, Paul Tracy, Marco Andretti, and Ken Schrader are your full-timers racing. The 4 part-timers are Tony Kanaan, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, and Denny Hamlin.
Ooh-wee.
Brad Keselowski entered this race.
Yes, he's entered this race. All of the race.
Tyler says with the super chat, I've decreed that Eric must pick Deegan for this race. Okay, no, you not the boss of me, but we will get to our picks in just a moment.
And by the way, as I see in the chat, make sure you're very careful how you spell it on Twitter this week.
yeah, I've already seen so many typos.
Yeah, it autocorrects automatically.
I can't wait for sex.
Sex.
Woo!
Darian, getting back to on the NASCAR side, thanks for the Cup race. Darian, what are the betting odds this week?
Oh yes, it's time for the famous betting odds. If my phone, there we go. Now it's loaded up. Let's get into them. Now, of course, for New Hampshire, the odds-on favorite, no surprise, Christopher Bell plus 550. Martin Truex Jr. at plus 650. Denny Hamlin at plus 700. Both Kyles, Larson, and Busch are plus 900 apiece. For the best of the rest, Chase Elliott is plus 1,100, William Byron plus 1,200, Ryan Blaney plus 1,400, Joey Logano plus 1,500, Tyler Reddick plus 1,800. For the underdogs, Brad Keselowski and Eric Almirola are both plus 2,200, Bubba Wallace plus 2,800, Daniel Suarez plus 3,500, and finally, Alex Bowman is plus 4,500. And we have an update on the NWP Fantasy League. Dude, this points battle, oh my goodness. Let me check it really quick. Okay, now it's the top 7 are separated by less than 100 points. The top 5 so far is Sean 48 NY, followed by Trevor Sports 98, who is only like 20-something points out of the lead, so it's pretty close. Polish Victory Lap is P3. EFM is P4. We're on the comeback trail. And finally, rounding out the top 5 is 48 Nation. Now for the NWP Fantasy League 2, so similar development. Still pretty close points battle. Race Roar 48's P1, JC underscore 43 P2, Vroom HMS P3, 42 Larson 5 P4, and rounding out the top 5 is BFM. So you know what?
Wow.
Hey, it's been a great season. It's been a great season so far. I'm usually not good at this, so I'm pretty proud. But thank you guys so much for playing. But hey, at least I'm also in the top 5 in the pick points. Yeah, but there's only 5 of us. There's only 5 of us though. So let's move on to that.
That's pretty funny. No, good stuff there, Darian. Also, going back to the betting odds, I think those are the best odds Eric Almirola has had all season.
Oh yeah, by far.
Never forget that Cinderella story in 2021. The tinted windows bailed him out.
I'm gonna make sure I bring my sunglasses this weekend so I can start saying it's dark.
Only when Bowman's leading.
The 48's leading. It's dark.
All right, let's get to our pick points. Chat, I hope you've brought some good choices this week because things are getting closer up front. Chat's leading. They have 354 total points for the year. I'm still second, -8. I think I gained a couple spots or a couple points, I should say, this past week. Jarrett, -57, is on the podium still. Darian, you're right. You are in the top 5, top 4, actually, -60. And Danny, -61. So with the SRX back the next 6 weeks, Jarrett, you may have to explain this to our audience. It's just like a bonus pick, right?
Yes. So this does not count for sweeping. I'm gonna bring this back from January or February here. You got the normal truck and Xfinity and Cup pick points. This is the same. It will stay the same. Weekend sweep is only for the NASCAR races. You get an extra 4 points though if you pick the SRX winner. But if you don't pick it, you get nothing. If you do get it right, though, you get those 4 bonus points. So that can make a difference. We saw last year how close the championship ended up being. SRX pick or 2 might have been the difference a couple times.
Now, is it you have to pick the winner of the SRX race?
Yes.
You can't just be like, hey, my guy got second, your guys all got 5th.
It can't be that
It's bonus
easy.
points. Yeah.
Okay, I got you. You have to pick
I mean,
the
considering
winner of the race.
Considering there's only 12 people in each race, that would be too easy.
Yeah.
That's probably true. So we'll get things started actually with the SRX. We'll get the bonus points out of the way. We go in order of points, which means chat will let you go at the end. But I will go first then. SRX, Jarrett rattled off that long list of stars that are competing, a lot of active NASCAR drivers. I'm going with the guy who I think is making his SRX debut, but will become very familiar with this series this season. Brad Keselowski wins this race.
I think that's a good pick, but I'm going to go with the guy who I think in the field is the best short track racer, and I think that's Denny Hamlin. Dennis the Menace gets it.
I gotta go with Eric here too. Brad Keselowski won this race.
And I am with Jarrett on this one. Denny Hamlin is probably the best short track racer in the field. Denny Hamlin will win.
Okay. And
Chad is going
Chad.
Tony Stewart.
Yeah, I see more smokes. I see a lot of smokes here.
Yeah, I don't forget he's not the only person in the field anymore, guys.
Hey, give him the pick. Yeah, I see mostly Stewart.
Yeah, it's Stewart.
Sorry, y'all. Give him the pick.
Didn't Marco Andretti win the SRX title last year?
He did. And then, well, somebody said he didn't win it, but then he did win it.
He won one race, right?
I think I don't know.
I know he won the championship. Yeah, I know he won the championship.
I know Newman won this race last year just because Jarrett told me so.
Can I be honest? Who's actually following the SRX championship? It's such a
it's meant
system.
to be a fun series. It's meant to be a fun series anyway.
Yeah.
Like Michael Waltrip had a chance to win it just because he was in it full time.
Yeah.
We'll move on though to the Xfinity win pick. Again, I'll get things started. This was a tough one for me. You got Austin Dillon driving a Kaulig car, could be something to watch, but I'm going with his teammate, full-time driver Chandler Smith. Chandler.
I think Chandler might be a good pick, but I'm going to go with the guy who I think this week he's going to get this win off of speed and not just everyone screwing up around him. John Hunter Nemechek is my pick.
Hold on. I forgot my pick for John Hunter Nemechek. There you go. I forgot it for a second.
And I'm going with a guy still trying to redeem himself and get back to his old swagger in this series, Cole Custer.
He's been good lately. He's been great lately, you might even say. But the chat, it appears, agrees with Darian and Jarrett with John Hunter Nemechek, the 20.
I had to make sure that there was no Christopher Bell on this entry list. It's actually Joe Grab Jr. is in the 19.
Yeah, made it an easy pick to avoid. We'll move on then to the Cup race because the chat's making it pretty easy. They've been pretty unanimous on these first two selections. We'll start with the suck pick. Who's going to struggle this weekend at New Hampshire? I'm sorry, Danny. He's just not been good the past few weeks, but Alex Bowman has just been on the struggle bus. I think that'll continue.
Okay, guys, I know you guys want to give them all out, but I'm going to spoil this. Now, we all picked Alex Bowman. They gave
Did we
me
really?
these picks before. We all picked Alex Bowman to suck.
I'll put it like this. Remember that one year he wrecked all of his cars and he needed Jimmy Johnson's backup car.
He
Oh,
did.
yeah, I
Oh yeah,
forgot about
2018, right?
Wasn't
2018.
wasn't New
20
Hampshire the track?
2020.
Yeah, wasn't New Hampshire the track too, where he was qualifying and like his entire drivetrain like just fell out of the car?
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
it too.
so it and the chat agrees. It's not this is not Bowman's track.
Wait,
He's
hold
gonna
on. Somebody said we're sleeping on Alex. No, we're not, bro. This is not his.
no, not this track. Not this track.
one. No, not this track. No way.
Now watch him win, but this is not his track.
This will be we'll be having a fun time here next week if he wins.
If he wins, I'm gonna have someone cook up a crow for us to eat.
We should get negative 10 points each if he wins.
Well, yeah, is that everybody?
It wouldn't matter. I guess you're right. Okay, well, I guess we move on to the underdog pick, the dark horse for the Cup race. Did we pick the same person again, Jarrett?
No. So far, everyone's different.
Oh, everyone's different for this. All right, I'm going AJ Allmendinger. I began this show with that being my hot take, that Allmendinger's on a hot streak. He's going to ride this wave all the way into the playoffs. I told you guys his average finish is like 10th the last 6 weeks. Allmendinger.
Well, Eric, I piggybacked off your hot take by saying that I thought that one of the colleague cars and the 34 would outrun both the 99 and 23 the rest of these races. And I'm going to keep it up because I think that Michael McDowell is going to be the dark horse in this race. Give me a top 10 for McDowell's supremacy.
I'm going to stick in the Ford camp. He's got 2,200 plus odds, hasn't won in a while, but I think Brad Keselowski, man, he's won here before. So, hey, why not again?
I have got for my underdog pick Eric Almirola, but I will say for the chat, they're going with his teammate. A lot of Ryan Preece ones out there.
That modified background. That's not a bad. I thought about the dark horse pick. I just don't trust Stuart Haas, but it's not a bad pick for this track in particular. It's actually a very good pick. We saw how well Preece and SHR did at Martinsville earlier this year. Mm-hmm. It's not that similar to New Hampshire, but I believe the modified tour races both tracks.
Did he win here in the Xfinity Series for Joe Gibbs, or was that? No, that was Iowa.
I know he won Iowa. I think
he won Bristol. That was the other one.
I think you're right. But yeah, the chat is going Ryan Preece. Not a bad dark horse pick at all.
No.
So now it's time for the main event, gentlemen.
Yes, time for the main event of the evening. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win at New Hampshire? Points leader.
Oh, I like that. I'm not the points leader.
Okay. Well, the points leader out of us. Excuse me. Points leader out of us.
I got lost for a second. I really liked being addressed as points leader. Maybe this is fool's gold, but I have a feeling this will be a popular pick. He's never lost an Xfinity race here. Aside from that first year with Levine Family Racing, he probably should have 2 wins in the Cup Series here. Christopher Bell.
Ditto.
Ooh. Hey, I'm going to stick in the Toyota camp, but I'm not going to go Bell with one of the veterans. Martin Truex Jr. He's been on a roll this year, and he's going to continue to be on a roll this weekend.
Christopher Bell.
Yeah, I figured it'd be popular. I'm seeing Bell emojis in the chat.
David Bell's son. I think we have our pick.
Yeah.
Wow, the chat, y'all made this easy tonight. Y'all are in sync. I'm impressed.
So I'm the odd man out. Hey, we'll see if it pays off or if it backfires. I'll take
Darian's going to be like way in the basement or fighting for the championship after this week. No in between.
That'd be interesting. That's going to be interesting. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. But yeah.
Awesome stuff. So we have our
pick points in the book.
Christopher Bell is the favorite according to Las Vegas. He is the favorite on this show. With that being said, we're just past the 2-hour mark. We're going to wrap things up by reading the rest of your super chats. Let's see what kind of questions and comments you all have. Really appreciate the support. Fred Dog sent this earlier. If I remember correctly, the last 2 winners in Loudon were first-time winners that season. Do you see that going 3 straight? And does that make New Hampshire more of a wild card race? Well, we all picked Bell and Truex, guys who've already won this year. But, they do have a point. Almirola in 21, Bell last year was their first wins on the season. We just talked about SHR. I think SHR could be a team to watch this weekend, considering how fast they were at Martinsville. But we'll have to wait and see. Power of the Poof sent 5. Hey, guys, anyone repping New England out there? I live in Rhode Island. I have no one to talk to about NASCAR.
Aww.
I don't know if Power of the Poof is still here, but chat, strike up a conversation. Any other New England race fans out there? Let us know where you're watching from.
I'll say this. I'm going to go explore New England. I'm actually going to be in New Hampshire this weekend, and I'll be at the next SRX race in Vermont.
Nice. So yeah, Danny is an honorary New Englander for the next week.
Oh,
we got some folks watching from Boston. That's awesome. Is Michigan New England? I don't think Michigan's New England.
But
No.
quick warning about that. That's Thunder Road, right?
Yes.
It was tweeted yesterday. The track's underwater right now from historic flooding in Vermont.
Oh my gosh.
They're still on schedule to run the race, but they might have to cancel it.
They're expecting a lot of rain to come in. So
I'm just heads up on that one, and I'm gonna say heads up for that for next week. I said it in my video that the SRX quote tweeted it, and we wish everybody the best. But I guess their offices basically got leveled, like they're unusable at the track. So that's something to look out for.
We'll see what happens.
Dang. Yeah. Hope everything's okay over there. We did get another super chat from MaFire924. Why did NASCAR remove 500 milers? Are the drivers not strong? Oh, whoa.
I think it's more consumer side than anything.
Yeah, it's easier to digest a 400-mile Atlanta race than 500.
It ain't the drivers. I'll say that.
No, drivers are fine. They do this. They did the Coke 600 a few weeks ago, and Daytona always feels like it's 600 miles. Tyler McGonigal sent 5. Reminder that Byron would be plus 81 points and have 27 playoff points right now if it wasn't for NASCAR throwing a hissy fit that they lost an appeal. They did put kind of like a funny emoji, so I think they're being somewhat sarcastic, but I mean, he's got a point. NASCAR Bluey Taco Box. I was thinking about this at work, but I think Blaney had a missed opportunity by leaving Wood Brothers for Penske, considering he got his first win at Wood Brothers in his second full-time year. I don't know. I think driving for Penske is probably an upgrade over driving for the Wood Brothers. I know there's like a satellite team technically, but man, I don't know. I think Penske, you can't pass that opportunity up. And who's his crew chief now? Is it Jeremy Bullins, I guess?
I can't remember. I don't remember.
They got good people over there. Fred Dogson, another 5. Any news on Bell's crew chief? It was actually, I think, his car chief getting ejected from Atlanta. Seems weird that happened, and there hasn't been any updates on possible penalties yet. I think the penalty reports already come out. Even the 2 cars that went to the R&D center were clean, apparently. I think it was Keselowski and maybe Stenhouse that went to the R&D center, and they came back all good. So I guess nothing more, but that was a weird situation. Fire Pile 129 sent 2. Just started watching again. Why is Elliott so low in points?
Wow,
you have missed a lot, unfortunately.
Which one do you want to hear first?
Oh, that's a good one. That was a good super chat.
Which one?
Yeah, I don't even know where to start. That's funny. Chat, help Fire Pile out. Why is Chase Elliott so low in points? Noah Coleman's like, well, Napa Racing fan sent 5. DBC suggested reducing all super speedway races to 300 miles, except the Daytona 500. Thoughts? Will ESPN lay off SRX, expand SRX to 8 races in 2024? I don't know about the SRX. I think like that's more of a Tony and a Don Hawk deal probably, but should we shorten super speedway races? What do y'all think?
Maybe lay off the party in the night before a podcast, guys, because I don't think that's the way to go about it.
To me, it just sounds like someone not wanting to work as long, but
I say take out the stage breaks at the super speedways and keep that intensity up, and you probably cut 10 or 15 minutes off the runtime.
I agree. You don't need stage yellows at super speedways. Now, the only Texas Motor Speedway, Pocono, did not need to be 500 miles. I'm glad those are being reduced. But super speedways, I think 400 miles for races not named the Daytona 500 are fine, but I don't need to get much lower than that. Like that one super chat said, are the drivers not strong enough?
No, they're weak as can be.
Hunter Nixon Fishing says you don't need what does this say? Oh, you don't need a Halloween costume to cause a heart attack. Just have on your radio playing extremely loud Dale Jr. Oh, we got a car on the wall.
Oh, we got a car spinning.
Car on the wall.
Oh, we got a car on the wall.
Jarrett somehow managed to peak his microphone. That's a tough task.
It is.
Zach Willis sent 5. My first NASCAR race was the 2015 Coke 0400. I took a nap with a towel on the floor underneath the stands at Daytona during a 4-hour rain delay. Race ended at 3 a.m. That sounds like the true NASCAR experience right there. Hope you had a good time. LV426 sent 5. Incredible racing, disappointing race. I assume they mean finish. 50%. Oof. They weren't really sure. They didn't like how it ended. I understand that to an extent, at least. Garabuki making fun of the folks we were talking about earlier. I don't like NASCAR anymore, but I'm still following your channel and commenting on everything you do to remind you that I don't like it. Yes, we do run into those fans quite a bit. Hello Fresh. I don't know. Hello FR. I'm guessing it's Hello Fresh. I don't know. Will Daytona ever go back to how it raced in the 2000s?
Yes.
Maybe if the surface gets worn out enough, I think it'll come one day for sure. Southern 4501 Foamer. Is this what you were talking about, Danny? A big train fan?
Yes,
They've got a train as their profile picture. I just learned this word today. 24. Oh no, my thing just updated. Oh my gosh, let me scroll back. Where'd it go? Where's my phone? There we go. 24 in victory lane again. As a JG fan, I was hoping someone would make the 24 a championship contender again. Looks like we might get that with William Byron. Also, Eric, how was that Dollywood cinnamon bread? It was fantastic. I didn't know cinnamon bread was like a thing Dollywood was known for until I got there. And my uncle was like, we beelined it to the grist mill to get some cinnamon bread. And as we were beelining it, I saw multiple merch stands with cinnamon bread t-shirts. I had no idea this was such a cultural phenomenon, but it was delicious.
Fun fact, you had to go just Dollywood to get that. Now you can actually just go to their Dollywood Dreammore Hotel. Don't even have to have a room. Just go in there to their cafe. You can buy it there even too.
That is good to know.
Also, I want to know more. How did you like that classic train and train whistle? I want to hear your thoughts.
It was beautiful. I thought it sounded great. It was, it was kind of a rainy day, so you just see the steam very visible peeking.
That's the best
trees.
time to see it.
Yep, it was beautiful. I'm glad we have a couple of foamers here on the podcast.
Okay, foamer use the term rail fan. Foamer means they are extreme, literally foaming at the mouth of the train.
Oh, foamer.
I just learned this word right before the podcast. I think it's amazing that I'm getting to use it so early. Matthew Brown sent a $10 super chat earlier, very generous. I'm hoping Larson can find his winning mojo again. I feel the Gen 6 car did very well to mask a lot of flaws the next gen car showing from him. Praying for a championship number 2 for the 5 team. Hey, Larson, he was nominated for a best driver ESPY. He's still good. Crickets.
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, it's the ESPYs.
Okay. Yeah, you're okay. But it's the ESPYs. Nobody gets it.
Yeah. Hunt, FTW for the win. I was at Mid-Ohio this weekend as it's my hometown track. The trucks were fun, but wet. Also saw IndyCar last weekend. That's good. I'd like to visit Mid-Ohio at some point. She ranks 244 sent 20. Did y'all hear that Garage 56 is going to Goodwood this year?
I saw that. Yeah. So they're back at it again. Back at it.
That's pretty great. I love that. That's really cool. Kurt Irish sent $7 Canadian earlier. Really appreciate the support. Rowdy 8 Diecast sent 5. Going to New Hampshire for the first time this weekend to see some racing. Hopefully the rain stays away. I think you and Danny are in the same boat there. Have fun, y'all. Edible Giraffe 59 sent 5. If you were scored the winner in a rain shortened race, would you feel like you've earned it?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. It's a NASCAR win. Yeah. I wouldn't care.
Everyone else had the race to the rain.
Yeah.
I'm
a winner.
I would take it, but I think you'd want to win one that goes the distance. I think even Bubba kind of said that after winning Talladega. Like, he earned that win as much as you can earn any Talladega win. He was great. He made the move at the right time.
Hey, but if that's your only career win, celebrate it. You never know when it's going to be your last, so always celebrate them.
TVP sent 5. They're supposed to do a tire test at the Indy Oval later this year, according to NASCAR Sirius XM Radio. I have not heard that. If that's true, that's some big news that they would do such a thing. Anyone in the chat can corroborate that. That is very interesting. Isaac sent 2. Rockingham greater than Dwayne Johnson. Ooh, the true.
Oh,
Shorty PJM. Thanks for the 5. Twin sister and I went to both Atlanta races, stayed out in the rain for 15 minutes for pictures of Penske and 2311 and Trackhouse's haulers, plus a video of Alex from Hendrick. That's cool. I hope you guys had a great time. Oh, and then I sent another one.
It was reported 3 hours ago, so about right around the time that we got on air. Yes, Goodyear is going to be doing a tire test at Indianapolis.
Whoa!
With the
interesting.
And it was tweeted by SiriusXM. Greg Stucker, who we've had on the show before, said that there's enough discussion around potentially going back to the Oval in the future. Let's go ahead and take the opportunity to get on that racetrack.
That's fascinating. That's big breaking news. Thank you, TVP. Shorty PJM sent a follow-up. Will I regret getting sick over Alex? No. So it was worth staying out in the rain, I guess, to support favorite drivers. That's cool. Jupiter Rain, not the getting sick part, but the supporting your driver. That's great. Rain or shine. That's beautiful. Jupiter Rain sent a $2 super chat. Larson, only 5 less wins than Junior plus championship. Why lower? Where are we at? What did we have? He's talking about on our top 75 list.
Yeah, we had Larson, I think, like 7 spots lower.
Yeah, we had him
for 5.
He
was on. I don't.
He was on the last show, wasn't he? I think he was on the last.
He was on the last one, I think. Yeah. I mean, Junior has the Daytona 500s that Larson doesn't have. He does have more wins.
Larson's, it's still his career is still happening too.
Yeah, I think Larson will be better than Junior when it's all said and done, but he's not there yet.
I thought it was funny when people were like, "Why isn't Larson like top 10 or 15?" It's like, child,
he ain't done.
Well, yeah, it's like. No, we're not putting him in the same level yet as a NASCAR driver like Kevin Harvick or Lee Petty or Kyle Busch.
Like, not that I think it will, but we may blink and he may never win again. We don't know.
Yeah.
We got another super chat here from One as a Dad. 2000 Pepsi 400 wreck, I think, ended his run. Was this talking about Terry Labonte? Who was this talking about? I forget now.
I think it was about Terry Labonte.
I think it was Terry Labonte. But thank you for the super chat. Sorry, we only got to it now. That's our bad. SD Eon, 2311 right now is the Ferrari of NASCAR. They have a great car, but have poor pit strategies. I hope they turn it around soon. That may be true. Feels like we haven't talked much about 2311 the last few weeks. Tyler McGonigal, I read this earlier, said that I had to pick Deegan for SRX. I did not, and I will not. You do not control me. Napa Racing Fan says 95% chance of rain, 100% chance of tinted windows. That's great. David Bell, we just picked his son almost unanimously to win this weekend. Dropped a super chat. Thanks for all you do, fellas.
Thank you.
I'm not sure if he heard the pick section, but thank you for that. I appreciate the support. Alessandro Sebastian sent 5. If the 4 of you guys were to change the point system to determine a champion at season's end, what changes or additions would you guys go for?
We all know where I'm at.
Consistent points.
You just go, yeah.
Consistency.
It's either do that or no changes for me.
I think minimal changes because I like I've said before, I think part of why the championship format isn't respected, part of why it's not respected by many is because it changes all the time. It's so fickle. It's so temporary feeling that fans don't take any single format seriously. So I think if you're going to make changes, they have to be minimal. Who was it? Was it Dale Jr. earlier this year who suggested making the final race 3 races instead? I could support something like that. I think the 1 race to win it all is a little fluky, but maybe that's the only change I'd consider.
I just don't think it'd work with what NASCAR is going for. My thing with the playoffs is it's too easy for a driver to get a fluke win off of rain maybe and get in who I don't think deserves to get in. And like we saw last year, somebody like Truex who deserved to be in doesn't. I think if let's make it more interesting. If we were to stay in the playoff realm with it, I would say either top 16 in points, or even better to me, since it'd be much more difficult to do this, top 12 in points, and then eliminate 3 each round instead of 4, but it's 3 of the best all season instead of busy work for the first round or 2.
I like that. Also, just Brian Vargas citing in the chat off topic said, "Oh heck yeah, it's NWP night." You are exactly right, Vargas. Good to see you. 8-bit Ghost Ripper Dragon sent a $5 super chat. Larson or Bell can only pick one for your championship 4 at this stage in the season. Who you got?
Well, Larson more than likely will crash out at some point, so I'll go Bell.
Yeah. I'll go Bell too.
I mean, Larson has 6 DNFs in 19 races.
I know, but he's calmed that down a little bit. Wasn't like 5 in the first 12, so he's had like 1 in the last 6 or 7. He's good. He's chilled it out a little.
I'll still go with Bell though.
He's on track for 10 DNFs.
I'd still go Bell.
I go Larson, and I'm a Bell fan. What the heck? This is shocking. This is shocking news, shocking development. Chat, let me know what you guys think. It feels like they're starting to go Bell as well. Bell, no doubt. Bell. Wow. Okay. Larson, the bandwagon is not that there was a Larson. Well, there was a Larson bandwagon, maybe, but the Larson bandwagon has crashed. Raw Gator in the chat as well. Good to see you, Raw Gator.
Hey, Gator.
A few more super chats, gentlemen. I appreciate y'all sticking with me. Atomic Ninja 41. I'm going to the Indy road course race in August. Any tips for that track?
Take time to visit everything. Everything you can see, any part of the track you can walk to, go to the museum, like
check out the museum.
Appreciate being there. Like,
the thing about Indy compared to other tracks is like everything is inside the track. So it is, you typically like, the museum's a bit of a hike away from where a lot of the haulers and other setups will be, but like take the time to explore it all. It's mostly all in a pretty confined location.
And make sure to pay close attention to those restarts. They're gonna be jammed. They're gonna be.
And if you looking for a seat, turn 1. I liked where we sat a couple years ago in turn, whatever the last turn is. I like that view, but you can't really see turn 1 too well, and that's where a lot of the action happens. So maybe turn 1 is the best place to sit.
There's gonna be plenty of seats. It's not gonna be sold out. There's gonna be plenty. Of
you
seats.
can move around.
Yeah, plenty of seats available.
Tyler McGonigal sent another 2. Danny, what's your favorite steamer? Narrow gauge?
See, I don't really know as much about the narrow gauge railways, but as far as
question,
it's a train question. As far as favorite steam engines, I'm probably cliche, but the 611. If you haven't seen that one, just look up 611. It's a pretty cool engine.
All right, I like it. I will be Googling that because I'm about to become the biggest rail fan there is. 8-bit Ghost Ripper Dragon. Think we could ever see 2 races in one weekend like Pocono did during COVID in exchange for another off weekend or 2? Surprised it's not a thing.
Yeah,
they tried it. I don't know. It's possible.
I still think trying primetime Monday night might be an option. Midweek won't work as well. But I don't know, man. When there's no football going on, no
Monday
real
night.
sports, Monday night NASCAR, that give it a shot. And if it doesn't work,
that'd be cool.
You tried it.
Yeah, I'm not saying do like 5 races for Monday night. Maybe like 2 or 3, maybe.
One.
Yeah.
Like just compact the Richmond weekend together if you want. Give it a shot.
Question for you, Jarrett. JS Ski asks, where can I find the NWP 400 requirements?
IDK Players Twitter account has the signups. The requirements are on the signups. If you don't have like a 2000 I rating, or if you can't be there for multiple tests or the duels or whatever, there's all of that will be on there. And he made it very explicit too. So I would say I'll double check. He might have put it on his community post. So it might be there, but his Twitter account will have it. And I'll put the link to it in the description or in the chat after the show too.
Perfect. 8-bit asked another, Danny, what's going on with your boy Bowman?
He's just sucking it up. That's all I can say.
Just sucking it up.
NASCAR Sun 2414. NASCAR Hall in 2024 is going to be Johnson, Knaus, and then either AJ Foyt or Hyde. I would give, I think.
Harry Hyde? Oh, I'd like that. That'd be cool.
I'd give Banjo some consideration. I think, is it Ralph Moody who's on the Pioneer ballot next year as well? That's a tough one.
The Harry Hyde, that's a name. Younger fans, y'all need to know who that is. That is one of the greatest pre-2 7.
LV426. Chicago started bad, ended great. Atlanta started great, ended bad. Loudon on Monday. Money's on Martin Truex Jr. So I agree with, I think it was you, Darian, right? You had Truex?
Yep.
For anyone who's interested, I put the NWP sign up form, which has requirements in the chat. Link is there.
Tyler McGonigal says, enough about chicken. We reached that portion of the show. Where's the best steak?
Chop House.
Yeah. From what I hear, Chop House is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, also, Outback Steakhouse. Outback Steakhouse isn't too bad.
No,
too bad.
That shit's tiny.
Okay.
Dude,
the last steak I got from Outback Steakhouse, they gave me some steak with my seasoning. That thing was seasoned to death. There is a thing that's too much season.
When last time I went to Outback, it was basically
Outhouse.
I'll call it Outhouse. Last time I went to Outback, I looked at it and I went, "What is this? A steak for ants?
What is this? Where's my seasoning?
What is this? A steak for ants?"
I mean, I was trying to think of like more chain restaurants that everyone could relate to. Here in Texas, I don't know if it's ever, but here in Texas, we have Saltgrass Steakhouse. That's my personal favorite of the chain restaurants.
There in Texas, you guys go get a steak and it's like that big.
Wait,
we can go get a steak at every block almost.
What about Texas Roadhouse though? Isn't that like a big?
It's fine. Go there. I don't know.
It's fine. It's everywhere. They're everywhere. Like I'm driving through Tennessee, they're there. Driving through Mississippi, there it is. They're everywhere.
Claudia swears she can't go to Texas Roadhouse because it'll make her sick. Because
she said that before. Yeah, she said that before.
I don't
that.
prefer
Texas Roadhouse is fine.
Dying to get my steak. Like it's not on the itinerary tonight.
I gotta have that steak.
Our final super chat of the night. We have finally made it. Jimmy Leo sent 5. Hi guys, did you hear about Chase Elliott racing next Saturday in the Xfinity race at Pocono? Yes.
Hey, maybe he can finally get a win. Maybe finally.
Very good, very good. But that is going to do it for the super chats. All I can think about are trains right now, Danny. When I was in Chicago, went to the Science and Industry Museum. I don't know if anyone here has been there. They have a massive model train, also like a scale model of the city of Chicago, the countryside. It goes on for like probably 100 feet.
Doesn't it also have like a tornado simulator in there too?
Yeah, not by the trains, but yes, they do have a tornado funnel creator in the museum.
I want to see the tornado go in the model train, just start picking everything up, slinging stuff.
I love that stuff. On that note, next week we will once again be live Wednesday night at 8 p.m., but it will be on the Icebergs channel. You can click his name down in the description below to subscribe to his channel so you don't miss that episode. And then, yes, the NWP 400 main event is August 22nd. Is that correct, Jarrett?
Yep. Tuesday
August 22nd.
Well, you know what's cool about that too is
oh my gosh.
It leads right into the show on Danny's channel before Daytona. And we'll also be doing that week our 1 through 5 picks on the 75 list. So.
That's gonna be a big week.
Wow, what an honor to be on my channel.
Well, hey, you also get episode 250.
Yeah.
Oh.
Hey, 250,000. 8-bit sent another one saying,
you hear that, Claudia? Get the cookie cake.
Oh yeah, get another.
I see why you scheduled it that way, Jarrett.
Yeah, good point.
8-bit sent one more saying, taking last place super chat from Bowman. That was just unnecessary. Didn't need to do that. I feel like we piled on Alex Bowman today.
Even I have piled on Alex Bowman.
Yeah,
today.
that says a lot. That says a lot.
Yeah. This was a fun show. Really appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you to everyone who sent super chats. Very generous. We really and truly appreciate your support. We'll be back next week on the Icebergs channel. Enjoy New Hampshire. Stay dry out there. We'll see you again real soon.
Goodbye.
See you there.
Go get us a W. Hell yeah. Ready. Green. What the copy? Right foot down. We had to go flat. Unbelievable, man. Way to keep your head in it. Holy oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah. Boy. Yeah. I'm done with it. Miss your face. Set sail. Steve, you look beautiful. Doing great.